Efforts to get the war ended between the United States and Iran have been destroyed by the Israelis who refuse to stop attacking Lebanon. In fact, Iran's news agency Tasnim said that Iran wants an immediate cessation of Israel's military operations in Gaza and Lebanon. Now, the real sticking point here is Lebanon, which Trump seems pretty ill-informed about, because when he was asked, what's going on with Lebanon? Here's what he said.
I also asked him about Netanyahu and the Israelis. I asked, it seems to be that the Iranians are saying they're not going to negotiate until Israel stops attacking in Lebanon. Have you talked to Netanyahu about it? I asked the president. He said, this is about 40 minutes ago. He said, no, but I'm going to ask him what's going on with Lebanon. They've been fighting for a long time. Now, since our call, just in the past couple of minutes, we've seen a report on Reuters that crossed the wires a short time ago, suggesting that the president has now called Netanyahu to discuss that. But at the time that he and I spoke, he suggested that in fact, they had not talked yet.
Sorry to interrupt, but this is important. The shooter who murdered my sweet little Daniel brought a highly lethal weapon with him.
Yeah, I gotta hit Bibi up and ask him, what's going on with Lebanon, man? What's going on with Lebanon? That's the president of the United States, okay? The guy who's shelling out billions of dollars to Israel so they can carry out their slaughter in not just Gaza, but also Lebanon. Okay, so following his call with Netanyahu, Trump posted on Truth Social, I had a very productive call with Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu of Israel, and there will be no troops going to Beirut, and any troops that are on their way have already been turned back. Likewise, through highly placed representatives. I had a very good call with Hezbollah, by the way. Hezbollah denies this, and they agreed that all shooting will stop, that Israel will not attack them, and they will not attack Israel. And then he says President Donald Trump. Okay, great. So Cenk, immediately after he puts out that statement, Netanyahu puts out a statement of his own. What did that statement read?
Tonight, I spoke with President Trump and told him that if Hezbollah does not cease attacking our cities and citizens, Israel will attack terror targets in Beirut. This stance of ours remains unchanged. In parallel, the IDF will continue to operate as planned in southern Lebanon. So he says the plans are unchanged, not, because Hezbollah did this, we're going to do that. He says we are going to continue doing exactly what we were doing, which is invading and taking southern Lebanon. So in other words, that's an open-handed slap to Donald Trump, saying Trump is lying. I'm not going to listen to him. I'm never going to do peace. I'm going to keep attacking the civilians in their capital in Beirut. So your president is weak and impotent, and I run the country.
That's right. That's right. That's a good way of summing it up. And so what are the Israelis actually up to in Lebanon? Is this really about fighting Hezbollah, or is there something else afoot? Well, let me read a direct statement from Itamar Ben-Gvir, right? One of the top politicians, most influential politicians in Israel. He debuted his plans for Beirut. Here's what he said, quote, "We say in all honesty, the suburbs of Beirut need to be flattened." Israelis are really good at that, as we've learned. They need to be flattened. I oppose the previous ceasefire, and today I'm also saying the suburbs must be flattened. The Israeli army is doing its job. What really hurts them in the suburbs, he says, we need to target them, flatten them, and completely destroy them. Again, flatten the suburbs. Hezbollah is in the suburbs. I'm sure there are monsters and boogeymen everywhere to justify your slaughter campaigns and your destruction of civilian infrastructure and residential property. That's why we have to eliminate Hezbollah's presence in the suburbs, right? So I guess Hamas was in every single building imaginable in Gaza where that enclave has been completely flattened, right? But anyway, today Ben-Gvir also told Netanyahu to push back on any demands by President Trump to end the bloodshed in Lebanon like a true terrorist would. And over the weekend, Israel seized Lebanon's Beaufort Castle. There's no Hezbollah there. I should be very clear about that. They sent mandatory evacuation orders to now roughly 20% of Lebanon's population, including in Beirut.
Ethnic cleansing.
Yeah, you'll love this. You'll get a little chuckle out of this, Cenk. France, Germany, and the UK condemned Israel's push further into Lebanon.
Oh, so what, they just taking southern Lebanon's enough?
They're anti-Semites, right? The UK condemned Israel trying to take more land in Lebanon.
How dare you? I now ban the entire UK government. How dare you, even slightly criticize Israel's land theft?
So just a little more, Cenk. Let's take a look at this footage because I want you to see what Israel has done in Lebanon. So you're looking at the aftermath of Israeli strikes in Tyre. So 3 residential buildings, by the way, were completely demolished with many civilians trapped inside. You're looking at footage inside a hospital that was targeted as well.
As usual.
Of course, as usual. This is the Jabal Amel hospital that was wrecked. Hundreds of emergency workers, medical workers have been targeted and killed in Lebanon. At least 6 people, by the way, died in the strikes that you're looking at right now. Over 20 were wounded. And those are just the casualties we know about. I'm sure the toll will rise. The intensive care unit suffered the most damage in this hospital, and it was crowded with patients as these strikes were taking place.
Quick question. When was the last time you went to bed before midnight without your phone lighting up your face? It turns out if you've got the news cycle on a loop in your head, it's harder to fall asleep. Here's what's actually happening. The stress, the screen time, the doom scrolling spiral, it raises your core body temperature. And a body that's too warm cannot get into deep sleep.
Hello, what's up?
Okay. I'm gonna text you a little later, okay? I'll be done around 7 something. Not funny. I'll be back at 11. Oh, sorry about that.
No worries.
I knew there was a point where he was gonna start begging for money, but I didn't realize because I had to take this really important phone call, and so I wasn't paying attention. So, yeah. Hi, Jacqueline, Unc, oh man, Barker.
What's up?
The ones lurking in the back. How is everybody?
As far as what's on the screen, that's just a little bit of the Young Turks for what they're worth.
That was just a little something to pass the time while we wait for people to come in, you know.
She was, I really don't like most of their analysis, but a lot of what she was saying in the intro video there was kind of just some factual description of the latest current events. So that's not exactly what to object to.
I definitely don't like her domestic policy analysis. Like, I can't really deal with her like that. But when it comes to Israel, she seems to always be spot on.
Well, with Israel, as long as you're not a complete like asshole, it's not hard to be on the right
side. It's not hard to be on the right side.
But they do stuff like this. I see they're sharing some drop site news. That's some CIA bullshit from some Ryan Grimm joke of a journalist kind of thing.
I don't even know what they're about to say. We can listen to it. Hi, XG.
Oh, man.
Well, I'm glad you're here with us. I'm glad you're here with us. Then maybe we could. Well, this show isn't a funny show today, but eggs.
I'm not sure what you're even talking about. Maybe you guys can inform me. I'll get a little fucked up on it too.
Oh, it's gonna piss you the fuck off if I tell you about it. I'll tell you later.
Sounds good.
I don't want to derail the.
Let's not.
That is
reinforce.
I've actually been talking to Michael Pan. I've been texting him about the Rick Floyd shit. I watched, the court case and I think they a tactic that they'll use a lot of times is they'll go for a charge that they know that they can't. Like if they went for manslaughter, I think he would. Like you have to find him guilty, unless you're basically spitting in our face, which you kind of spit in our face anyway. But the man owns like 17 to 20 businesses in that county, so a lot of it was, he's very well connected in that county because this is his third time doing this. Eggs, it wasn't the first.
Are you saying there's a business owner accused of murder or something? Serial killer? Serial killer?
No, he's not a serial killer. He just loves shooting people that he claims are shoplifting in his store.
I see.
But he actually owns like 17 businesses. And to make a long story short, they are like the young people in that county, they're like doing the research and finding out what his businesses are. And they are going, like some of them they're going to each business and standing out there shutting it down. Like, don't go in there. Like boycotting his businesses. Do not buy anything from this store. Do not, don't come in here. So that should give you hope, Eggs D, that people are paying attention and they are like actively saying, hell no.
Well, let's not get too far on to another tangent on that, but sounds interesting. You can kind of fill me in on it.
I'll fill you in on it later. Hi, Myra Page.
Well, good to see you, Myra. Been a little while.
Should I finish playing this? Because
sure.
I thought it was interesting stuff.
I just have to warn the audience not to trust drop site news. ProPill did a really great, I'd have to go looking into one of their episodes, but they did a really great expose of drop site news, kind of interview some like Iranians during, when the US was trying to induce the Mossad was trying to induce those protests before I guess it's the 12-day war, wherever happened. I'm not sure exactly, but they really caught them with their pants down, like the Ryan Grimm people on Drop Site News who are trying to get these like assets or whatever, pretending to be, the Iranian voices on the ground that you should be listening to or whatever. There's just like that, the neoliberal, regime change people kind of thing. And then but the Drop Site News people will say all the like Al Jazeera, where they'll say all the right talking points just to have sympathy or empathy for Palestinians and this kind of thing. But you pay close enough attention, you can see that they're there for a very sinister kind of limited hangout situation. So buyer beware.
Buyer beware. Okay. Well, with that warning, I'm going to press play.
What's up, Sakwoto?
Hi, Sakudo. Isn't that a game? Sakudo? No, that's not what that is, because
that's
there's an O. There's an extra O in there.
Yeah, I'm forgetting exactly the word, but my ex used to play that all the time.
Sakudo, right?
Sakudo, I think. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, it's a numbers game with boxes, little.
With the boxes and the numbers. Yeah, I love that game. I actually have it on my phone. I'm gonna look it up, but here we go.
Bloodied and crying beside their bodies.
So that's the kid in the yellow sitting up, and I saw the video. He's of course crying his eyes out, and he's looking at his
dead parents, his dead parents who were slaughtered by the Israelis.
And the Israelis have brag all the time about how good their technology is, so they knew who they were hitting. That's just a family with a kid in the back, and they're like, oh yeah, let's murder the entire family. And then they'll say, and the American media, like dogs, will repeat, oh, they don't intend to hit civilians. They've just made 76,000 mistakes in Gaza, and now they've made over 3,000 mistakes in Lebanon. Golly gee, did we murder your kids? Oh, well, you're not allowed to say it. We're allowed to murder your kids, but you're not allowed to accurately report that we murdered your kids. In that case, the kids survived. His parents were dead, but that's because the terrorists tried to murder everyone. Oh, the kid was left alive. I'm surprised they didn't do a double tap, which is another Israeli specialty, because they're terrorists and it's super obvious unless you're brainwashed by the American media that works for Israel.
I'm the founder of Mudwater, and a lot of people ask me, what is the difference?
Again, same thing. There's no lies detected so far, as long as it's about Israel.
And just to give you an update on the death toll since March 2nd. So March 2nd wasn't that long ago.
I'm sorry.
3,433 civilians killed, 10,395 wounded in Israeli attacks on Lebanon. Again, since March 2nd, Israel has killed over 1,000 people per month in a country smaller than the state of Connecticut. And guess what? We, the American people, are bankrolling it. We are supporting it and bankrolling it.
No, okay, guys, this is unsustainable. So look, we're now at a point where things are gonna have to give. So we've been going in a way that if we pulled out of the war with Iran, there was some chance that Israel could get their bearings back, get their feet on the ground and go back to the propaganda, back to being the victims and begin to deceive us with the American media 100% as their allies, right? Telling you there was no genocide and they're doing self-defense and all that. But now Israel has made a decision in the statement that I read you. Trump, if Axios is to be believed, and Trump is to be believed, called and said, stop attacking Lebanon. Netanyahu, after the call, said, no, we're going to keep attacking Lebanon. There's nothing you could do about it. So that leaves us at a decision. So if we decide that to make a peace deal with Iran and cut Israel out of it because they refuse to go to peace, okay, then great. We control our own country. That's still a disaster. It's a disaster for the world to deal with, and we'll keep talking about it. But at least American sovereignty is ours, and we can get our country back in some semblance of sanity. But if because Israel said, shut up, America, you're gonna go back into the war, and we go back into the war, which is I have at about 98% chance, what's going to happen is that we're gonna get to a point where the American people are gonna say, no, that's it. And the Western citizens all across Europe, etc. We've had enough of you guys. We have eyes and ears. You can lie to us 24/7, and you do. All of our media lies to us all the time. But I saw Gaza, I see Lebanon, I see that kid crying about his dead parents. I've seen now 23,000 dead kids in Gaza. And you keep telling me that it was necessary to murder their kids. It's not necessary, and it's definitely not necessary for us to pay for this slaughterhouse that Israel is doing throughout the Middle East. So I think that there's going to be a rebellion in this country. So our politicians are the most disgustingly corrupt people on the planet. It doesn't matter. Israel can go and kill half of Lebanon, and if we don't put pressure on them, all of us as American citizens, the Republicans and the Democrats will be like, attaboy, here's $20 billion more, here's 30 billion, here's 100 billion.
Kind of off topic, but you remember when he ran for president to sell T-shirts?
Oh, when he pretended to run for president because he's not even qualified.
Right. Exactly. Hi, Sean.
What's up? Yo.
So that was way off topic, but I think I just wanted to say that to show how serious I think he is.
It's a bit of a whataboutism, if you want to put it. That's kind of fair, I guess. But
I mean,
I think what they're doing here is like they can like fully speak their mind on the one issue that the way that they actually want to for once, but the rest of the way that they run their life and everything, they know that they're not really gonna accomplish anything with this kind of support, whatever. They're just kind of, it's a bit maybe disingenuous to call it a grift, but I don't really think that they actually intend to do anything to force the American government or people to really like support this, like make this stop sort of thing. Like
Oh,
They
they're
know
gonna
full
tell you.
well
They're
if
gonna
they
tell
can
you
just
to vote blue harder.
piss into the wind. Like that's really all they're doing.
They're gonna tell you to vote blue harder. That's what they're gonna tell you to do.
Because
So
this at this point, we've had so many ceasefire violations, so many lies, and they've acknowledged it, right? And so there is no voting blue harder to fix this, right? They're not moving their analysis to the point where we have to have that revolutionary. He's talking about rebellion in Lebanon. If you want to end the situation in Lebanon, you need to be talking about rebellion in America now, because they're not going to listen to anyone. They don't listen to anything except for force. And so, but we have to say
they
that
don't
whatever,
listen to
risking
anything
our
except for
channel and
money.
our lives because that's seditious. So
They don't listen to anything but money. And the quicker we come to that conclusion, the faster we'll be able to do something. It's like 3 minutes left. So should I finish?
sure, I was just
Oh,
gonna say I don't know enough about their backgrounds, but I do know Cenk's got the Turkish background, and then Anna's got the
oh,
is it Armenian, and
I
so
wasn't
they
even,
have some.
no, Armenian, and I wasn't even going to say that. I said, you know what? The fact that he named his channel the Young Turks, and then hired an Armenian to like brush that off, says a lot about him too.
It's just the Turks their hands are not clean when it comes to Lebanon, every much as it wasn't with Syria and with Palestine, and so look a little closer to home for help, Cenk.
So quick comment from Unc. There's also the matter of the U.S. and Israeli militaries digitally merging. We talked about that on Tuesday. Remember? That is that is scary. That's not like a NATO. Like they are actually becoming one. I mean, we could look at it again if you want, but all those data centers, Israel's going to have access to all of the information. Like, are you kidding me?
This is where I was saying it's more of a formalization than anything. I'd say Israel already has access to everything anyways.
Right. They're just saying it out loud now.
Like, it doesn't even matter if they're doing this for some kind of legal protection or precedent or whatever, because they've already violated so many laws. Like, it doesn't matter if they go changing it after the fact. You're still guilty. So it's just the problem is they have enough power. You can't really enforce anything against them. And that in and of itself challenges our like philosophies of law as far as if no one can enforce any laws against them, as much as you say that they broke the law.
What are laws for?
It doesn't mean anything if you can't hold them accountable at all. And at some point, we're going to need to make that shift in our minds to stop trying to litigate the impossible, right?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, Jacqueline, because it's not just Palantir. It's also Sam. What is Sam's name? Sam Altman. Sam Altman of OpenAI. Who, by the way, his sister accused him of SA and tried to get him criminally charged. By the way, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I've just been
let
hearing
you know
stuff like that
how
about. I
creepy
didn't look
he is.
closely yet. So,
and then it's also what's that Shark Tank guy? He's from Canada. Is it John Leary?
Kevin O'Leary,
Kevin O'Leary? Okay.
the Dragon's Den guy.
That might, yeah, maybe Kevin O'Leary. And then it's also Amazon is getting into debt. It's all the billionaires basically. Like if throw a rock at a billionaire and they're gonna have a data center. So.
Well, the data center thing's a little funny because everyone's all complaining about like the health effects and whatnot, but then the catch-22 is, so you're trying to make an argument for exporting the building of the data centers in some other foreign place where you don't have so much control over your data centers and whatnot. I mean, we don't have control over them, the corporations do, but I'm saying there's an interesting thing there about proprietorship when you export the means of production like they already have. So you're going to export the means of data production. You're going to want those to be, there's going to be a nationalistic kind of argument that we need those to stay at home. But then it's about in which communities have to suffer
I know
that sovereignty.
Elon Musk also has a data center that he's like, this is not funny. It's actually sad, but I shouldn't say but. It's almost like a little karma. Because where do you think they're going to build these data centers? You can't build them in cities. So they're not going to be in any blue cities because most blue places are condensed with people because people like that are trying to get away from people like them.
I think what's going to end
Not
up
to
happening,
be mean about it, but
they're
I'm
going to try
saying,
and... So go ahead.
well, I'm saying, where did they think those data centers were going to be built? Like it has to be, it requires land and water. So that's your farms, that's the flyover states. So you are basically getting a little bit of karma.
I'm thinking they're going to want to put them in remote areas, in which case it's going to become an environmental issue that no one's really going to properly handle, like pretty much every other environmental issue. As long as it's not affecting human beings directly enough, the rest of the ecology, whatever, the cost can be pushed on to the environment. And then there's only the tree huggers are the ones, whatever, who care, and then they're easy to dismiss as worthless or whatever, insignificant, whatever complaints, you know.
Yeah, Unc says, that was funny, Sean, by the way. Unc says that, oh, sorry. He says BlackRock bought up a shit ton of houses probably to be cleared for data centers. I don't think I agree with that because the houses are in areas where I don't think that's accurate. I could be wrong. I think they bought up a bunch of houses to inflate the housing market. Now, if you said JD Vance and whoever his ilk is who buys up farmland, and especially farmland has been bankrupted, now we talking.
I wouldn't
But I don't know.
Wouldn't put it past them to have a plan A and a plan B and that kind of thing. So.
That's true. That is true.
I
think they're trying to hit us from all fronts, you know.
I saw China put their first data center at the bottom of the ocean, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, we solve the human problem of our health problems, but I don't really think that they've carried out a sufficient environmental kind of analysis of the effects that they have on the ocean life and whatnot. And whatever analysis that they would come up with that's quality would probably tell them that they shouldn't put it down there, and they're going to do it anyway.
So I've never heard that before. I do know. Yeah, so I can't confirm or deny that. But I've never heard that before. But that doesn't mean it's not true.
I could call it up. I had shared it in the Discord, I think, a while ago. But yeah.
Okay.
But we're not talking about data. We're not supposed to be.
Anyway. We're not. Hey, well, let it flow. So, but we do need to get off this in a second, right? Because we're supposed to be talking about Lebanon. But I know they do have this huge data center that is away from residential areas. It is solar powered because all these data centers, like we talked about this Tuesday, they're saying that private companies can't pay for it all. They have to, the public is going to have to contribute, and it's for the greater good to compete with China. And they're going to be going into your pensions, your 401ks, your savings accounts. The man literally said that. We showed it on
classic-
Tuesday.
Classic example of the deep hypocrisy of fucking capitalists when it comes to something that they really, really, really badly want. Their economic theories about how things have to happen for the rest of us go out the fucking window, so that they can get their little fucking treat that they are salivating over, and then they can go back to pretending like their economics work.
Right. And their energy bill is going to go up. Or energy. Here they call it Intergy. That's our company.
This is where we got to stop denying the climate crisis, because the more that they get away with these kinds of just forcing these disastrous, whatever, technological requirements at the expense of the environment, which is in kind of catastrophe right now, it's unsustainable. And at some point, it's going to be too late, and it won't really matter that we were right about this. I mean, it will, but like, won't be anything that can be done about it. We're already kind of getting there.
I wish I had this video. They were showing off this robot. The robot was like doing like karate stuff or whatever. Why the robot kick the baby? Like drop kick the baby.
For a commercial? Okay.
No, it was.
Oh,
it really had. And I
thing.
shouldn't laugh. I'm going to hell. I know it. I'm gonna pack my bags when we get off the live. Okay.
Yeah, share that. That's funny.
I said, "Oh, look at the Terminator. He just drop kicked the baby."
Well, that's we've been saying wherever what could possibly go wrong, whatever, and that is exactly one of the prime first examples. So.
All right. 3 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
3 minutes. Dougie Fresh, you're on.
Keep murdering, as long as they get their legalized bribes. So this is not at all complicated. So if you're working American media, let me speak slowly so a moron like you can understand it. The Israeli lobby gives hundreds of millions of dollars to our politicians, and then our politicians give them back hundreds of billions of dollars.
They know, James.
Okay.
They're in on it. They know.
So
they love it.
every disgusting cable news anchor, it knows these facts, and they hide it from you actively. And
okay, thanks, Captain Obvious.
by the way, like they did with Anna, and like they took her off the air, they won't even allow on the air. If anyone dares to criticize Israel, you remove them from the air. No one is allowed to dispute Israeli propaganda, okay? So that's the oppression that we live under. Number one thing you should do is unplug the matrix. If you're watching television, you're purposely poisoning your mind. So talk to your older relatives, talk to people you love and care about. Get them off the crack of television. Television is meant to deceive you. Television is meant to do propaganda for a different country and to drive you into endless wars. And they said,
what?
Don't you just love when people on the TV always tell you to turn the TV off?
Turn the
Somehow
TV off.
I don't think he's actually really attacking his income here, because like earnestly, somehow I think he'll be all right.
Yeah, that's probably enough of him, I guess. So I did want to show, let me see if I can share this now. Okay, so this just happened. Wait, does it say 2025? No, that can't be.
Well, 2025 to 2026. I
No,
don't know.
but right here, oh, it was introduced in but they brought it up.
Because these motions take a while and whatnot. So.
To get there, there, okay. All right, this makes more sense now. Okay. So it came up in the Senate June, what's today? Oh, that's June 20, that's still 2025.
Almost a year ago. So. But
okay.
anyways, so you're sharing this to show that Congress has been trying to exert their authority for once to end this war because they don't have authorization without Congress or whatever?
Well, now, and I apologize, you guys, but because maybe my research isn't that great then, because I was reading up on this as it was something recent. So then when I went to the Congress.gov, I guess maybe I pulled up the wrong thing. I'm not sure.
Maybe we can find it quickly.
Maybe I could try to find it. But anyway, this was a bill saying the hostilities against the Islamic Republic of Iran were not authorized by Congress.
Yeah, the House adopted a resolution Wednesday directing Trump to seek congressional authorization before continuing military operations. So,
oh, maybe that's what I was looking for. Okay.
Let me share you something real quick. This is like on the fly. We don't have any time to vet this whatever source, so just have to.
Before you move it, I just want to make a note here. I don't know if maybe I need to make this bigger. So it, of course, it failed in the Senate. 47 yeas, 53 nays, so it failed. And I can share this if you guys care to read about it. It's the actual text of it, but that's 2025, so that's old. But you could go ahead and share what you want to share. But here, I'm gonna put it in the comments. This is the actual text if you want to read the bill. I was going to, but now that I'm realizing I'm a year behind.
I'm guessing this is what you were basically reporting on. Seems like it. So this is from today, from Legion.org.
You're getting loud over here. Sorry.
Bella's chewing on something. House votes for the first time to halt Iran war by Svetlana Shkolnikova, I guess. So, is this big enough?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe do a little.
Oh yeah, make that a little bigger. Thank you.
So it was the fourth time the chamber voted on a resolution directing President Trump to seek congressional authorization for military operations, and the first time it succeeded. The House adopted a resolution Wednesday directing President Donald Trump to seek congressional authorization before continuing military operations in Iran as more Republicans came out in opposition to the conflict. It was the fourth time the chamber voted on a resolution to end the 3-month war, and the first time it succeeded in a 215 to 208 vote. The measure was on track to be adopted last month after a similar measure passed in the Senate, until Republican leaders abruptly pulled the vote from the floor over concerns that the resolution would pass and deliver a rebuke to Trump. 4 Republicans, Tom Barrett of Michigan, Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania, Warren Davidson of Ohio, and Thomas Massie of Kentucky, joined every Democrat in supporting the measure on Wednesday. Is this like a little bit of a revenge for whatever Mr. Massie losing recently? I don't know. Probably was in the works before that happened, but whatever. Democrat Jared Golden of Maine, who previously opposed such measures, switched positions to vote for it. The vote came hours after Secretary of State Marco Rubio doubled down on the administration's claims that the war had concluded and the U.S. was now conducting completely defensive strikes against Iran. This is such nonsensical shit, whatever. The war is over, but we're still attacking them defensively. Like, the more that you try to gaslight everyone, you just end up gaslighting yourself, because everyone sees you guys are full of shit. And so if you want to continue believing your own little web of lies, good luck with that, Mr. Rubio. Maybe let's make this a little bit bigger. It's a fact. We're no longer conducting sustained strikes inside of Iran to degrade their military because epic fury is over. It's not a fact. He said in a testimony
Epic fury is over.
Yeah. Whether you call this little operation over, this part that you're no longer conducting sustained strikes inside of Iran is false, which makes this not a fact. Anyway, he called the operation, which began on February 28th, hostilities instead of a war, and said the U.S. has achieved its military objectives. Oh, almost like how Russia called this whatever invasion of Ukraine, which was an invasion, They decided to call it a special military operation, and they kept up that shit and said it for like 4 years now. I think they probably kind of like in the last year maybe have stopped saying it, but like literally for 2 to 3 years, I was watching the updates and they would talk about it like it was a special military operation while hundreds of thousands of people are dying. Okay. And in that way, as much as we act like they're on the opposite sides of everything, what they have done carefully, if in case you haven't noticed, is establish this impossibility to actually apply international law through their the actions of both sides, regardless of their claimed stance in opposition to one another, because they both disrespect international law and make it impossible to apply. So I don't know how important that is. I just feel like there's something to take note there. The way that Israel is occupying Gaza is in violation of international law in the exact same way as Russia's invasion of Ukraine is in violation of international law, and for very different reasons. Be that as it may, don't mistake me for one of these foolish whatever people like on Twitter with a Ukrainian flag and a Palestinian flag or whatever in my fucking name. I'm just saying that they are together, the Eurasianists and the Atlanticists are dismantling international law. Okay, go ahead, pay attention. Okay, back to the little article. He called the operation, had achieved its military objectives, whatever. Bouts of fighting have continued, however, despite a ceasefire that took effect in April. Iran launched a barrage of ballistic missiles and drones at American bases in Kuwait and Bahrain earlier this week after the U.S. struck an oil tanker that it said was attempting to breach an American naval blockade on Iranian ports. Representative Sarah Jacobs, the Democrat from California, cited the exchange of fire as she pressed Rubio on Wednesday on whether Operation Epic Fury had truly ended. American people are not stupid, Mr. Secretary. Well, I don't know. We talked about that last week, 6th grade education level. We all know that this war is not over, she said. It's now day 97 of the war that the president said he wanted to end quickly. Democrats and some Republicans have rejected claims by the Trump administration that hostilities had stopped with the ceasefire, and there was therefore no need to abide by provisions of the 1973 War Powers Resolution. The law requires a president to terminate the use of forces within 60 days, with a potential 30-day extension for the safe withdrawal of troops, unless Congress explicitly authorizes the military action or declares war. Presidents from both parties have deemed the law's constraints as unconstitutional. So what I'm kind of predicting here with this situation is the Republicans know that the Democrats aren't really going to do anything if they disrespect the American Constitution and whatever Congress, if they actually try to assert their authority. They know Republicans, whatever, the Trump, the fascists that are supporting all of this, that have done this whole assault on the American system since this re-election and since the first election, I guess, frankly. They know their tactic, their strategy is whatever, like I'm going to rape people right in front of you or whatever and stare you in the eyes or whatever and dare you to do something about it because I bet you're not going to fucking do a goddamn thing. And
Damn,
in this
Michael.
instance, from what I've observed, Democrats, the American people, they intend to keep looking, watching and doing nothing and complaining about it maybe. So, yeah, I know. Sorry. That was a little you were refreshing to be fine.
Bad Cookies is here. Hi, Bad Cookies.
What's up, man?
I sent you two really short videos about Marco Rubio. One should make people laugh because I hope we can do that every now and again throughout talking about this sad shit. And one should make people kind of feel empowered. Hi, True Sensei.
What's up? Been a little while too. Good to see you.
So, while you're pulling it up, let me ask you this. Does it seem like Marco Rubio is like Pinocchio, but it's in his ears? It's like the more he lies, it seems like his ears keep growing or something. Like how big are his fucking ears gonna get?
Yeah.
Am I crazy? Am I seeing the same? Is it me?
Ever since then, someone pointed out how big his ears were. I'd never been able to unsee it, and it's.
But they
all I
seem
can
like
kinda
they're
think about.
growing.
Yeah, when I see him talk, yeah.
Hmm.
You're not wrong. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
I think he's gonna fly away like Dumbo at some point.
All right, making me want to rewatch some of these movies. All right, let
You
me get
always
back
have to go
this.
back and read. Oh, I thought you were done with the article. I'm so
yeah,
sorry.
I can. We don't really need to keep reading. I think we kind of get the gist of it. There's a little bit of it left, but I don't know what else there is to deduce from this. The main parts have kind of already been covered. So well, apparently they think they should not be reducing themselves to a rubber stamp, but you reduced yourselves to whores stamping with your rubber stamps a long fucking time ago or whatever. Anyone who paid you to stamp whatever without even reading it, that's what you guys have been doing for decades. Now you want to act like you're something better than you're not, you know? Yeah, let's get to moving on here. So
Well, you know, for some reason I can't play Facebook anymore. I think it's because I think Rondo put a spell on me to stop playing Facebook videos. Oh, was that Sean? Who tells me to stop playing Facebook videos? Is that Rondo or Sean? One of them. I think they said, "Thou shalt not be moved."
Rondo, Sean, everybody.
It was Rondo? Everybody. Everybody. I did actually try to join TikTok. I told you about that. It's confusing to me.
You joined it. You got there before I did. Good for you. I'm just trying to figure out what to pivot to here. So.
Oh, play the Marco Rubio stuff first. It's really quick.
Yeah, you
it's
go ahead.
It's really quick.
Yeah.
And then you could start with the history of Lebanon. You know, let's get back to Lebanon because it's really important for us to know what we're trying to analyze, right? And Lebanon didn't happen yesterday. This is like hundreds and hundreds of years of conflict. So Hezbollah wasn't created and didn't grow in a vacuum. There was a reason why they were created, and it's probably not probably. It's important for us to know that and understand that because they are very much a part of this Iran excursion.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just my computer's lagging a little bit.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Go ahead and share.
I can't share it.
Video.
I put it in the private chat for you. Because remember, I can't. It won't.
You were trying to say about the Facebook. So the first one.
Yeah.
Or the first one.
One is the Senate. One is funny, and the other one is empowering. So it really doesn't matter to me.
All right, we'll play them both.
Jacqueline said Rondo was. Wait, hold on. I gotta read this one. Rondo would sing like Barry White. He's got one of those deep voices, baritone, I think.
Yeah, baritone. That's right. Yep. It's always something that when I was younger I had to get over a little bit. Kind of upset. My voice wasn't deep enough.
Voice? Oh, it's not. Yeah, I was about to say you have a baritone voice.
I don't have a baritone or whatever. No, I've got more of, I don't know what you call it. I forget the
alto. I think
the higher one, not falsetto, but now
soprano.
Alto, yeah, something like that.
Alto is
soprano, maybe.
I don't know. Falsetto, soprano, alto, tenor, baritone.
Okay. Well, I'm kind of maybe
This is
alto soprano kind of.
that's good. Nothing wrong with that.
Just for a guy,
So
you feel
this
a little like the closer you go to falsetto, the more feminine you sound. But it's all good.
do you not know that one of the most famous artists who sang everything in falsetto, and the women loved him? I'm talking dropping panties love. You don't know his name, huh? And look,
Guessing
I'm
Mr.
stalling.
Prince
I'm
or
stalling. I'm
Mr.
stalling you
Jackson.
because I can't remember his name right now.
Well, then in the meantime, let's get on
And
with
this is
this
the funny
Mr.
one, by the
Rubio.
way.
Okay, let's see.
Admitting facts. You can't say that the president lost the 2020 election, just like you won't admit President Trump is losing this reckless war of choice, and just like you couldn't admit that the shoes the president bought you were too big. You clearly don't know what winning means, and not because the facts are unclear to you. It's because telling the truth would cost you your job, and the American people are entitled to a Secretary of State admitting facts.
Okay, I have a harder time even hearing what's funny when this guy's laughing like that. Whatever.
Okay, so
My bad.
this is like a. You probably never even saw this because you're not unserious. Like a lot of us are really fucking petty. Okay, the president bought him these shoes. They don't fit him, but he still wore them to a peep. Like he couldn't just tell him this is the wrong size. No, he had to wear the shoes because he didn't want to, I guess, upset the president. I don't know.
That's funny.
And they were like questioning him about how the president falls asleep, and he's like, the president never sleeps. He's always awake, worrying about the people and how he can help this country. And like, come on, dude, you're doing too much. It's a little too extra, okay? It's a little too fucking extra. And I also think it's
That is pretty
super
funny.
weird.
Man. Thank
You see him? Yeah.
Thank you for
I
that.
also think it's pretty weird that the same people who are like questioning him about Trump falling asleep act like Biden wasn't a damn Breakfast at Bernie's character too. So that's how you know
actually
they're
pretty much all
both
of
in a
them.
cult. They're both
This is
in a cult.
gerontocracy. I'm pretty sure all these Congress members and whatnot have the same kind of problem. They have a lot of sitting around in a chamber to do, and I bet you a lot of them sleep a lot instead of listening. So,
Well, yeah, that was hilarious to me. I laughed my ass off. Looking at him in them big ass shoes with the big ass ears. Look at those ears.
so let me call up the other one here.
So the other one is people yelling at him. First of all, he can't even move around without security. That's how hated you are. Mondami can walk the streets of New York and he's fine. The president, I mean, not the president. What do they call him in Iran? I forget how they call their head of
The
state or whatever.
Ayatollah, the great supreme.
Not the
religious
Ayatollah, that's the
guy.
religious one, the other one. But
The
anyway,
president of-
he could,
yeah, I guess.
do they call him a president too? He could walk around in Iran untouched. People shaking his hand. That's when you have to walk around like this, like that, you know you're on the wrong side of history. But go ahead, you can play it.
Even that I found a little strange that the Iranian president could walk around like they could bomb the Ayatollah, but then they couldn't. I would have not be surprised if he tried to walk out and do that, because that's kind of a propaganda thing, even though they would maybe, I would hope that they would admit that that's a propaganda stunt, you know, but they would maybe just say it's showing their devotion to the people and the people's devotion to him and stuff like that. But it's like the Americans, I would have thought, maybe they were. That shows how they corrected their problems with their security apparatus, that they could plan an outing and that he could go do it, and that the Americans don't have the previous whatever, have the planning or whatever, like aware of the plan. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm kind of babbling, so let's get to this. I don't know if this one has no sound.
It has sound.
It's saying that they're confronting them, but I'm not hearing anything.
Okay. Well, let me explain to you why. Did you just share the different tab? Because Streamline doesn't work like that. You have to hit X and reshare. Like you have to reshare it every time. You can't just hit like share this tab instead, because the audio isn't going to work.
I did try to share a new tab. I did stop sharing it and then started sharing a new one. But I guess
I don't know.
Let's try it again. Let's see if it works.
See what happens. They're screaming, "You're a cup for Israel. Fuck you." It's lagging, I guess.
Cut for Israel. You are. People on your head. It's the State Department of Imperialism and your war crimes. You are nothing but a Batista puppet. Little Marco, get your hands off of Palestine, Lebanon, and Iran and Cuba. I know you can hear us.
And Venezuela.
Okay, so that's the kind of thing that what did you think that you accomplished there? If someone wants to fill me in.
I know.
Did that make you feel better?
You didn't accomplish anything, but
this is like the Jose Vega shit. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, you didn't. They don't give a shit. So I agree with you with that. Like, they don't give a shit. Your time is better served in your community. Like making sure everybody, you know, like, what does the community need? Are we well fed? Do we have clean water? You know, like our kids thriving and learning. I think our time is better spent there than going screaming at people that don't give a fuck anyway. They're like, yeah, okay, whatever, peasant. They don't have
today's social media environment. You try to get a viral video, you can make some money like that. I guess, you know, or you can build a reputation. Maybe that's where the money is, you know. Because otherwise, you're spending money to go to a place like that. I would hope that you didn't travel far. You're gonna go from out of state, out of city to get there.
No, I think that's Cold. I think that was Cold Pink, and I think they are like in DC.
But I feel like Cold Pink and them, if you I bet you they travel to events, they book flights so that they can go do a freaking little 10-minute camera action like that, and be seen as doing something instead of you guys sitting at home.
That's dumb as hell. I don't know. Y'all, I cannot watch the comments fast enough. I'm so sorry.
I'm not sure that they maybe were talking.
Oh, you know, the chat is undefeated. But I just wanted people to laugh and, you know, like whatever before we got started. So I'm gonna I'll admin the chat and turn it over to you so you could start. I think you said you went back further than I did, and then I'll just jump in when it's my time.
Yeah, well, I found this article was pretty holistic. It kind of covers a whole lot. So maybe if we get to the part where we're talking about how like Hezbollah gets started, if it's in here, then we can sort of switch over to yours, which might be a little bit more detailed. But yeah, so this is from liberationschool.org. Lebanon, a lesson in continuous and unconditional resistance by Joyce Shedyak.
Wait. Before you start.
Yeah.
Before you start and get serious, I have a question for you. Read it.
See, do I think people would pay more attention to politics if I grafted AI boobies on these Congress people? I'm sure a certain segment of people would pay more attention, but personally for me, if they're AI boobies, I tune out. I make sure I do my best not to be caught watching the fakest of the fake. Whatever. I don't want to become a person turned on by that. You know.
I like my boobies to sag normally. Like my boobies have to have a little droop in them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if they sitting up too high, something don't look right. Like you got a 40-year-old face and 20-year-old boobies. I don't want that. I want 40-year-old boobies.
It was bad enough when we had all that hentai before all the AI. I mean, I got to admit, being a kid, whatever, I sort of found some of that kind of worth viewing. But as I got older, I started to rejecting being attracted to cartoon images instead of real people. And I think that's the right kind of healthier sexual mentality, I guess. But sorry if my answer's not funny enough, but that's me for you.
I just wanted to make you laugh before we got serious. That's all. But I do have like really quick, because my in New York City, my girlfriend had to get a double mastectomy, but they were still leaving her with breast. Okay, they just had to take out the cancerous parts, and the doctor starts like with a marker carving her up, and like he's doing all this stuff, and I said, oh, wait a minute, why are her breasts so high? This is a grown ass woman. She is not 20. I said, no, she needs a little sag. Like I don't want to see that. What are you doing?
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Is that maybe it's like a man thing, or maybe a lot of women come to him wanting that? I was like, oh hell no, you are not. I don't want nipples looking at me like lasers. They need to be,
See, some of those there. I don't have an objection to perky tits either. Whatever. I mean, I like a whole variety of different shapes and
you don't
sizes.
have perky titty. You don't have perky titties at our ages.
The biggest problem is
do
titties that are too big.
They do a little movement
that are like turning into a tube instead of like a round shaped thing. That's when it's not like looking like a boob anymore even. But let's get off of this now. I think we gotta we're kind of mocking. We're not doing the Lebanese.
Michael's getting shy.
Right. I'm saying we're not. Let's talk about this sad stuff. But first, we'll just talk about boobs and stuff.
Boobies. Okay. I just wanted you to laugh before you got into it. That's all.
I know. We just got to be careful that, like, I'm gonna have to. My typical criticism of Westerners is they like to pretend like they have the right to be so goddamn less serious about everything all the time, and that's a more serious way to go about life. It's like, get the fuck out of here. All right, so introduction here. Lebanon.
I bet you're fun at parties.
No, I'm not at all. I've given up on parties. Probably for the best.
All right, go ahead.
So, Lebanon is an Arab country of 5.5 million in Southwest Asia. Smaller than Connecticut, it is bordered on the north and east by Syria, on the south by occupied Palestine, and on the west by the Mediterranean Sea. For those who did not know, this tiny country has had its striving for self-determination, sovereignty, and independence repeatedly stifled and betrayed, and its people divided, traumatized, and tortured by Western imperialism and its agents, the main one being Israel. And that is not some kind of like ideological statement. That is just objective fucking fact. But the imperialists have never prevailed for long. Again and again, the people of Lebanon have risen up to demand freedom from Western and Zionist domination, the replacement of a stifling caste-like government imposed by colonialism with a democratic one granting and enforcing equal rights for all, for union with the Arab world of which they are historically, culturally, and economically a part, and for the national rights of the Palestinian people whose freedom is bound to the freedom of the Lebanese. Fought Ottoman control only to be colonized by Western powers. Located strategically at the intersection of 3 continents and in modern times in the world's most oil-rich area, foreign governments have long sought to control Lebanon. France first sent in troops in 1860. The Arab world, including Lebanon, was under the control of the Ottoman Empire for 400 years until the end of World War I. At its peak, the empire included most of the predominantly Arab Middle East and North Africa, which also included Kurds, Armenians, Assyrians, and other nationalities. Before and during World War I, 1914-18, Ottoman rulers confiscated for its army the food that was normally traded to Lebanon. This caused the starvation and deaths of 200,000 in the Mount Lebanon region. So I never heard of that until I just read this article today. And so I didn't realize that the Ottomans were not only responsible for the Armenian genocide, but this is essentially a Lebanese genocide. So when angry Lebanese Arab nationalists rose up to demand independence, they were repressed and executed. Many aligned with the Allies because Britain and France and Russia, before the 1917 Russian Revolution, promised to support an independent Arab state if the population would rise up against the Ottomans. And this is still a thing that happens all over. Like the Kurds are a great example. The neo-colonial imperialist powers, they are still happy to support independent movements, but not for the independence of that state, so that they can undermine everyone and anyone in the region for their own like foreign purposes, essentially. The Sykes-Picot Treaty and the Balfour Declaration. Following World War I and after rising up against the Ottomans, the people of the region expected independence. Instead, they were saddled with new colonial masters. The Allies had no intention of supporting Arab independence. Even before the war was over, France and Britain divided the region between themselves as colonies in the secret 1916 Sykes-Picot Treaty, the now infamous Sykes-Picot Treaty. And then Britain issued Britain issued the 1917 Balfour Declaration, supporting a Jewish homeland in Palestine as part of a plan to secure British domination of the Middle East. Excuse me. The outraged Arab people saw the Sykes-Picot Treaty and the Balfour Declaration as a double betrayal. They pushed ahead for independence with the intention of creating a greater Syria. And this is where, unfortunately, my research has come across some Syrian fascists and some Lebanese fascists, ironically enough, who don't even like each other very much and had, but that's a whole different story maybe for another day.
It was a French general. His name was Henry Gouraud, or maybe that's Gouraud, proclaimed the establishment of the state of Greater Lebanon, which became the Lebanese Republic.
I'm not sure if it'll
and
say
that was
that
in 1920.
Yeah, but this is kind of, I would say, please take note of this. Greater Lebanon, Greater Israel, Greater Syria, Novo Russia, okay? And whatever they call that Indian, I forget what it is because it's like with Indian language, but it's all greater, make my country bigger at taking territory that doesn't belong to it, whatever. In the case of Syria, whatever, there's maybe like a more of a historical, whatever, a time in history where there was a greater Syria, whatever. But to bring that back when it's died centuries ago is called irredentism, I think. And it's actually no different than what Israel's ambitions are for the rest of the Middle East. And so I don't necessarily agree with a greater Syria. Sorry to always be against all the other farthest leftists, you know what I mean?
And it's probably important to note that France created this, quote unquote, Greater Lebanon,
exactly,
primarily so they could secure a foothold in the Middle East and carve out a like a safe haven for what do they call them? Maronite Christian
Maronites,
population.
yes. So
Yes.
we'll get to them.
Oh,
This is where
is that in this
they're the
article?
phalangists,
Okay,
right?
sorry.
They're a fascist. They're the fascist party that the West, whatever, always kind of cultivated in Lebanon, and they modeled their party after the Spanish and Italian fascists. After going to the Olympic Games in the Nazi Games in Berlin or whatever, in 1932 or whatever. And they were so inspired by fucking Nazi Germany that they wanted to recreate that, like that shit in the Middle East. And so that's genuine fascism that gets kind of left out of the story far too much. Sad to say. A lot of these people that are supporting like because we got to get into it, because like there's Syria is very, like their history is very connected with Lebanon just as much as like Palestine and whatnot. And so there was like a Syrian occupation of Lebanon, just like there's been an Israeli occupation of Lebanon, and not everyone supports that. But if you think that Lebanon itself shouldn't really even be a sovereign territory and should be part of Syria, then you kind of maybe would not see that as an occupation, similarly to how you would not see Russia's invasion of Ukraine as illegitimate, because Ukraine deserves to be a part of Russia anyways. So that's the kind of, anyway, it's all complicated when you're trying to work with borders made by colonial powers, isn't it?
Before you continue, I just want to give a shout out to Joe Louis. When you're talking about the Nazi games, because that occurred when the heavyweight champion Joe Louis and that German boxer was fighting. And it was supposed to be like Germany was trying to show, their eugenics of how they were more superior, and he knocked the fuck out of that dude. So shout out to Joe Louis.
Yeah, shout out to Joe Louis. Okay. So they elected delegates from all the regions of Syria, Lebanon, and Palestine who came together in the General Syria Congress in Damascus in 1919. So this was, I guess, before or around the time that Lebanon's being established. Just like with Palestine and the establishment of Israel, there was a counter push for them to establish their more actual independent nation, and they were denied. And what we have today is a kind of Western imposed version of the national identity. But let's get into it. So the delegates unanimously repudiated Sykes-Picot, the Balfour Declaration, and the Zionist Project. But the aspiring state of Greater Syria had a short life. In 1920, French troops entered Damascus, overthrew this fledgling government, and occupied what is now Syria and Lebanon. An ensuing general uprising was also repressed. The Arab world, which saw itself as one, was dismembered and carved into 22 countries. So this is a little bit propagandistic, because I feel like the Arab world has failed to unite in an ummah properly for the very reason that they don't necessarily see themselves as one. It's the danger about treating any culture like a monolith. But the new French and British colonial masters drew borders to hinder local organizing and to facilitate Western penetration and domination. In the Arab West Asia, they sliced out as separate countries: Iraq, Jordan, Syria, Palestine, and Lebanon, creating arbitrary borders with no regard to ethnic, religious, and linguistic diversity, topography, or trade routes. France was to rule Lebanon and Syria, and Britain seized as colonies Palestine, Jordan, then Transjordan, and Iraq. Divide and conquer on steroids. Lebanon is the most religiously diverse Arab country, with 18 defined religious sects. 5 are Muslim denominations. Shia, Sunni, and Druze are the largest, and 12 are Christian, with the Maronites being the largest. France imposed a constitution on Lebanon in 1925 designed to promote sectarian strife. It locks the country into a caste-like political system where each person is defined for life by which of the 18 religious sects they were born into. Rather than being a citizen of Lebanon, one is first a member of a sect, which determines every aspect of one's life, from education to registering for a birth certificate or marriage license to garbage disposal. So these are one of these moments where I just have to kind of grind a little bit of salt in the wound and say, so those, you still think religion's a good thing, you know, like a positive force in the world. Like this is how it gets used to take away one's life, you know, and it gets imposed on you by birth. And you don't really have political rights because you have, apparently your religious rights are important enough, but you don't really have freedom of religion because you're expected to remain a member of whatever religious sect you're born into. That is completely unacceptable, and we should not be trying to defend that kind of an organization of society. And it gets very difficult to then, you know, you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, because there's a lot of people who find a lot of value in their religious beliefs, but then this kind of stuff makes it really hard to have it in the public space, because like, I like to try to make the argument that if you want to have your religious beliefs, it could be a private thing, right? But that's kind of like just as problematic, right? But this is not okay. Like this has to be smashed.
I think it's all a little cultish.
This is insane. So I think most religious people agree. Right? I think the religious people in Lebanon don't want their political system. For a long time, they have not wanted it this way, and they're not allowed to change it. This is part of trying to make them look like a bunch of like religious fanaticists, you know? So
I don't want to derail the conversation.
Yeah.
But
let's get back. Oh, go ahead.
Wait, well, we will. I just want to say this one thing, because I just found, like, I didn't know how to answer this. It's like, and Christianity is what I know, okay? I don't really know Islamic faith or Jewish faith. This is what I grew up in. And the question is, if you've been taught your whole life that there is this classless society, that basically the way they speak of heaven sounds like communism, a classless, moneyless society where everyone is happy working together, yada yada.
You're saying Islam
but
is above
you don't.
Christianity?
No.
You're saying Christianity sounds like that?
I grew up as a Baptist, okay? So this is how it was kind of framed for us. So we suffer here, but in heaven, it's like this classless society, moneyless society. Everybody's happy. Everybody's working together. But you can't get to that until you die. Well, why the fuck we can't have that right here? And I don't know how to answer that.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I was saying at the end of the show on Tuesday. It was like, I feel like they're trying to make it feel like, and I was referencing like Gnosticism, but which is like the pre-Christian stuff, like, or people would maybe say the original kind of Christian stuff. But apparently, when you're talking about your Baptist stuff, it's not just the Gnostic stuff. It's in like is Baptist Catholic or Protestant or whatever, but it's in the more modern contemporary Christianity too, apparently. And so that's where I think that the intentional, like the ruling class, which I think is nihilist, they're happy to try to put all this propaganda out to make people believe, or they'll convince the churches to make people believe that nothing, like that this plane of existence is for suffering, and if you play your cards right about sin and everything, you can avoid that in the whatever afterlife. You know?
But go ahead. I didn't want to derail it. I just thought of that, and that is that's just something to put on people's minds. You know, that's all.
I'm just lighting a cigarette. I got a good ashtray. 1 second.
Okay. So I'm going to answer this question. Sean. Okay. So he says baptism No, baptism means conversion or adaptation, correct? So I've been away from it for so long that I know when you're born, they have like a thing where they do something over your head with water or some shit. But then in your teens, it's like you kind of get pressured into becoming baptized, and that's saying that you're giving your life over to Christ. At baptism, that's when they take you in the
Confirmation.
water. Yeah, I guess other people like maybe it'd be like a bar mitzvah and Jewish. I don't know.
They
I don't know
always
what I don't
every
know
religion
what
has these
Islam
initiation
does,
rites.
but they all have these things where once you become of a certain age, you got to do this um to to confirm that you believe in this faith or something like that.
Right, but
And you're
from
really just doing it because your parents told you to do it.
and from the secular perspective, that is literally a named fallacy we've known for a long time. It's called the fundamental attribution error. I've mentioned it before. I find it's kind of specifically repeated by the religions more often. Like they maybe different groups you are more prone to certain fallacies, and I feel like this is one of this fundamental attribution error is important because they have to attribute the actions of God to something material in the real world, and then take away the actual explanation for what's happening there.
I
Like
wish
what I'm
Rondo
saying,
was here so he could tell
yeah.
us, like, from Islam, if they
Well, I don't
have
know.
something like that and what do they do? Because
I
I
just
don't
be
know.
pissing them off. I feel like I don't necessarily want to be, not necessarily saying I'm glad that he's not here or whatever, but it's like I don't want to be stepping, like I don't mean to be stepping on anyone's toes. I just have to kind of say when it comes to how do we can all say don't like forget about Lebanon, but I think if the point is to, if you really like to change the world, not to talk about it kind of thing. And if I'm gonna, I mean, I guess it's not my place to tell them what to do, right? That's what the thing. The Westerners always love to tell everyone else how to solve their problems, but this is not. I'm sure that a lot of them agree with me that this is like. I think that's kind of the tone of this article, that this has been imposed on us from the outside, and we've been trying to reject this, and don't mischaracterize us as people who want to live in this kind of sectarian dysfunction, because it's completely dysfunctional, and that's why it was imposed on them from the outside. It's designed to like divide and conquer them. So if you
Well,
need your
Sean
identity politics to
says,
matter more than your whatever national security, good for you.
Michael is a part of life. Don't take it to heart, but to mind. Rondo has his views as you have your own. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to say hi to driving me Macy. She's here now. Hey, girl.
And Lance Ripa, thank you for joining us.
Yes, Lance is here. Lance has been in the chat cutting up.
Mm-hmm.
But go ahead, baby. Go ahead.
Okay, so to run this fractured system, France cultivated feudal family dynasties from the elite of each sect. This is that capitalist, like classic tactic. These are the compradors, but in this case, we're calling them Zwamas. The Zwama who controlled their fiefdoms through patronage. These Zwama of each sect divide government funds among themselves with no oversight on how the funds are used or abused. This system locks the vast majority of Lebanese in poverty with virtually no say in government. The system has no mechanisms for implementing reforms and no way to modernize the country as a centrally planned unit. It leaves Lebanon's economy wide open to foreign penetration, as these tiny fiefdoms are easily controlled by outside powers, which grant favors to the Zwama who are pro-Western against the poor majority. It is divide and conquer on steroids. At Lebanon's 1943 independence, a national pact locked in a Zwama-run confessional system by decreeing that the president always be a Maronite Christian, the prime minister a Sunni Muslim, and the speaker of the House a Shia Muslim. This is ridiculous. And this is what I was saying about they're kind of leaving out the fascist part of the story, but they do kind of mention it later on. But this was the phalangist like government that I had like a little, maybe I can play this little video, but they intentionally, whatever, skewed the power towards the Christians, and it kind of led to civil war. And then they had to kind of give the Muslims some power back to make it equal again. But that had everything to do with the phalangists in power. And that's the pro-Western people they're talking about. But anyway, all in good time. So ratios in parliament favored the Christians and primarily the Maronite Christians. This formula applied to all government institutions, including parliament and the army. There was no direct vote for the president. Instead, presidents were chosen by a vote of parliament. The justification for this divide is a 1932 census conducted by France, finding Christians in the majority. This census was highly suspect even at the time. 1932 is also when that fascist party was founded. Or 1936, I might have been mixing them up. But today, about 70% of the population is Muslim, with the Shia at 30% or even 40%, being the largest of all the 18 religious groups. Maronites are about 20%. These numbers are approximations as to this day. Lebanon's ruling clique will not permit another census, as it would call for a redistribution of power. And this is where we're going to see a lot of parallels with Israel. And it's not a coincidence. The overwhelming majority of Lebanese of all sects favor sweeping away this stifling political system, replacing it with a democratic and representative one. Every struggle in Lebanon since 1942 has raised this demand. And they're doing these sham peace talks. This is something I don't know if I meant to mention earlier when you were talking about the current events, but they're having the Lebanese government that does not have any kind of ability to speak for Hezbollah. They're having peace talks with this Lebanese government in Washington, D.C., I guess, with the Israelis, and they're pretending to have a ceasefire without the actual conflicting party on the ground, which is exactly what they did with the situation in the Congo with the M23. They act like they can sign a deal with Rwanda, and that's means something. And with the Polisario Front, they're signing deals without, and with Hamas and with Iran, it's this recurring pattern. So, and with Ukraine too, where they're going to have a deal with America and Russia are going to sign a deal, but without Ukraine. So that's not that's all sham process. And the fucking media, once again, can go fuck themselves for happily running this bullshit story, which is very clear. They could easily just tell you what I just told you just now, but instead they run with the propaganda they're told to write. Anyway, Lebanon is a historic. So what I was saying is that this demand was rejected in that sham process. Was why I brought that up. Anyway,
before you
ahead.
continue, it's important to mention, because you're in 1942 now, right? So Lebanon achieved full independence in 1943 from France, and there are a lot of Palestinians that are in southern Lebanon, which is where Israel is bombing right now. And the reason they're there is because they were fleeing Palestine because of the Nakba.
But also,
so that's important to mention,
Also, after the Nakba, there was the majority of the resistance was kind of being coordinated out of Jordan. And then there was, I think it was called Black September. They had this operation, thinking in the 70s. I don't remember exactly.
Well, let's wait till we get to the 70s.
But they got they got surprise attacked or whatever. And Egypt, whatever, I think, like, made an agreement with Israel that made it possible for them to have like an invasion. I might be mixing my facts or whatever, so then the Palestinians had to leave Jordan. The ones that had already been exiled from the Nakba or whatever had to leave Jordan and went to Lebanon. And then ever since then, they've been kind of fighting the resistance from there. But they're still in Jordan too. Like, they're displaced in all of these countries, in Syria and Lebanon and Egypt and Jordan. It's all ridiculous. This is, if anyone in the international community had like a conscience or a heart or a brain, would have put a stop to this. Okay. let's get back. Maintaining Lebanon's Arab character. Lebanon is a historic, cultural, and economic part of the Arab world. In earlier times, however, Lebanon's coast was the site of independent seafaring city-states with different cultures later called Phoenician by the Greeks. This is where we had both set up a stream at the same time, not knowing that the other had done that, and I had called mine something like Phony Phoenicians, Phone a Friend, because the phony Phoenicians are the Kataib party, which is the phalangists, and they're the ones kind of calling the West for help right now, saying, "Oh, you got to help us with these, whatever, reassert the legitimacy of the Vichy government." So, yeah, fuck you guys. So, British and French scholars created the myth that Lebanon's Christians were Phoenicians, a separate and superior nation with racial and cultural identity distinct from other Lebanese. Attributed to this group was a Mediterranean focus in contrast to the uncivilized culture of the broader Arab region. This was meant to justify Western penetration under the guise of protecting the Maronites. And by the way, as far as the whole Atlantis myth, if you do your connecting of the dots, it's the Phoenicians can kind of be considered, they'd be kind of connected to that Atlantean, Hyperborean, Aryan, like the conspiracy theories about that shit. Those are like the Nazi conspiracy theories, wherever this is one of the fucking things that connect into that, by the way, but it's maybe not as clear as like the way that the Nazis kind of fetishized Iran, because they and like the Berbers, whatever. There was some Nazi whatever, I don't know what you call them, scientists, whatever, historians, that tried to say that the Berbers were real Aryans, but they would say that the Phoenicians were not. But I think the Lebanese, like the white Lebanese trying to Maronite Christians trying to associate themselves with Europe and Phoenicia or whatever, I feel like in their minds they wanted to consider themselves Aryan, but that's like, I have to do research on that shit. But it's interesting when you start to look at why do people think of themselves as Nazis. You can kind of, they look into history and they make up a myth about it, right? So some of the earliest and most militant Arab nationalists were Maronites, and Arab identity remained strong among many Lebanese Christians. At the same time, this "we are Phoenicians" in opposition to being Arab myth took hold among many in the Maronite areas and was especially encouraged by Western-backed fascist Christian militias during Lebanon's civil war. I also had to say briefly, I noticed a little bit of it's not like a very fair kind of comparison, but I see a little bit of like foundational white Lebanese kind of parallel here as far as like the FBA thing, but like they're apples and oranges in a way. It's very disingenuous to make that comparison. I'm not trying to be offensive, but I'm just saying there's a parallel there because they're in opposition to the Pan-Arab struggle, just like the FBAs are in opposition to Pan-African. So there's the foundational kind of slippery slope, maybe we can put it that way. So, but to complicate it, whatever, like I said, there was fascists fighting fascists, whatever. This is like the funniest thing about, you can be a Pan-Arab and use that ideology to embrace fascism, or you can use this "we are Phoenicians" route to fascism too, whatever. Like there's more than one ways to skin a cat, I guess. So the Lebanon-Palestine bond. When Palestine was erased from the map in the 1948 Nakba and close to 800,000 driven out, some 100,000 Palestinians walked into Lebanon with the few possessions they could carry. Now into a fourth generation, today there are 489,292 Palestinian refugees registered with the UN in Lebanon, mainly living in 12 impoverished refugee camps. Supporting the Palestinian right to return has always been a key focal point of the revolutionary movement in the Arab world, and especially of Arab workers, including those in Lebanon. However, the creation of Israel and Palestine's place on Lebanon's border has had especially huge repercussions in Lebanon, binding the liberation of Palestine and Lebanon together. Freedom from domination.
Wait, hold on 1 second. I just want to say goodbye to Mousy. He's hitting the road. First of all, thank you for your mutual aid. It's very much appreciated. And drive safely.
Yep,
Thanks for
popping
stopping
in.
by.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So supporting the Palestinian right to return has always been a key focal point of the revolutionary movement in the Arab world, especially of Arab workers, including those in Lebanon. However, the creation of Israel, and yeah, I think I read that one. They bound the liberation of Palestine and Lebanon together. Freedom from domination by the West and its proxies, especially Israel. For most of its existence, Israel has been armed by the US and acted as a Pentagon proxy. It has bombed Lebanon at will from land, sea, and air for decades. It conducted 6 major invasions of Lebanon since 1978, besieged its capital Beirut for 2 months, occupied Lebanon South for 18 years, created its own puppet army there, engineered massacres such as the 1982 atrocity in Sabra and Shatila, repeatedly destroyed Lebanon's infrastructure, sent in commando teams to assassinate Palestinian and Lebanese leaders and intellectuals there, dropped anti-personnel cluster bombs and white phosphorus on civilians, and regularly interfered in Lebanon's political affairs. That was that's been happening from 1978 to this day, where they're continuing to do it right now.
So, I see it goes back to 19. I'm trying to jump in when I can, you know what I mean? But I see it's going forward and backward. But also in 1980, they're called the Phalangist Party in Lebanon.
Yeah, I think they got started in like the 30s though. But they're the Phalangist Party. This is the thing though. The Phalangist Party is also known, they're called the Social Democrats. Right? So this is where I'm saying pay attention to the Social Democrats all around the world, and you can see the pattern emerge too, that they are the fascists that fucking Stalin called them out as.
They also sought to have total dominance over the Christian populated regions of the country. Let me see. Crushing rival militias. Maybe I'm speaking too soon. Maybe I'll let you finish, because I see now they're talking about 48, 52, 58. So yeah. I'll come back.
They are going a bit back and forth.
Yeah, they're going back and forth. So
maybe that's the easiest way to explain it. This is there's a lot to cover. So the U.S. emerged as the main imperialist world power after World War II and was keen to establish its dominance in the oil-rich Middle East. In 1948, it was the first country to recognize the new Israeli state on stolen Palestinian land. In Lebanon, it replaced France as the main sponsor of the Maronite Christian elite. In 1950, the Pentagon permanently stationed the 6th Fleet in the Mediterranean to guard its interests. In 1957, it issued the Eisenhower Doctrine, declaring that the U.S. would give military aid to any country threatened by armed aggression. 1948 destruction of Palestine outraged the Arab world and helped fuel a wave of anti-imperialist and pan-Arab liberation struggles. In 1952, in Egypt, the Free Officers Movement, headed by Gamal Abdel Nasser, electrified the region when it overthrew the Britain-dominated monarchy of King Farouk and seized the government. In February 1958, Egypt and Syria came together to form the militant anti-imperialist United Arab Republic. On July 14th of that year, a mass uprising in Iraq overthrew the brutal pro-British and pro-American monarchy of King Faisal.
I'll be right back. 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Marines invade to put down uprising. Washington, keen to stabilize this oil-rich and strategic region for its own exploitation, was determined to stifle these struggles. It installed in Lebanon the pro-West, Maronite-based government of Camille Chamoun, which became the only Arab regime to support this Eisenhower Doctrine without reservation. Chamoun was so thoroughly a U.S. client that he gave his approval to the Eisenhower Doctrine even before the U.S. Congress did. The U.S. had such control over the Lebanese government that it could select or reject cabinet posts. But it looked like Lebanon, too, would be part of this revolutionary sweep. Chamoun's endorsement of the Eisenhower Doctrine, combined with internal issues, led to an armed rebellion, mass demonstrations and strikes, sometimes called Lebanon's first civil war, which threatened to top the unpopular Chamoun government. On July 15th, the very next day after the Iraqi Revolution, some 15,000 US Marines landed in Lebanon to put down the uprising there and shore up the Shamoun regime. Lebanon was made safe for US corporate exploitation. A decade later, some 400 US banks and corporations were operating out of Beirut. Corporations did not pay taxes, and the US client government provided no social services. While US businessmen and a handful of Lebanese grew rich, Lebanese workers and peasants were steadily impoverished. In June 1967, Israel, with a green light from the US, attacked the Syrian, Jordan, and Egyptian militaries and invaded and seized the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, and Arab East Jerusalem, all parts of historic Palestine. It also seized Syria's Golan Heights, Lebanon's Shabaa Farms, and Egypt's Sinai Peninsula. This same year, Washington became the major funder of Israeli aggression, and Israel went from being a protector of Western imperialist interests, of European and American interests, to a protector of U.S. imperialist interests. The 1967 Arab defeat led to a surge in Palestinian nationalism, especially in the states bordering Israel, where the majority of Palestinian refugees lived. In 1968, Israel's response was to begin using its steady stream of Pentagon-provided weapons to systematically bomb Palestinian camps and Christian and Shia villages in South Lebanon. Israel commandos entered all parts of Lebanon at will, assassinating Palestine Liberation Organization leaders and Lebanese progressives and destroying infrastructure with no opposition. For example, in 1968, an Israeli commando squad, which included current Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, destroyed Lebanon's entire civilian air fleet at the Beirut airport. That was also something interesting I never knew until reading this here today. PLO driven from Jordan into Lebanon. The Palestine Liberation Organization, based in Jordan, was then seen in the Arab world as the major anti-imperialist force, once again destabilizing the region for Wall Street. In 1970, in a U.S. engineered attack known as Black September, the Jordanian army drove the PLO out of Jordan, where it had been based, and into Lebanon, killing 20,000 mostly civilian Palestinians. Yet another genocide. The U.S. sent extra forces to the area to back up the Jordanian regime in case it couldn't expel the PLO on its own. From 1970 to 1982, the PLO's social, educational, economic, and military institutions operated from Lebanon. South Lebanon became the center of Palestinian resistance against Israel. In 1972, the Lebanese National Movement was formed. Lebanese progressives of many persuasions and sects, including Marxists and Pan-Arabists, organized into a loose coalition headed by Kamal Jumblat, the traditional Druze leader and also head of the Socialist Progressive Party. The LNM program called for the replacement of the confessional-based government with a secular democracy, equality of opportunity for all Lebanese, direct popular vote for the president without regard to religion, the right of the Palestinians to be based in Lebanon, independence from the West, and the realignment of Lebanon with the Arab world. By 1974, workers of all sects added their clout to the struggle with strikes for basic economic rights like a minimum wage and a regular work week. Some strikes confront the Lebanese army. The LNM aligns itself with the PLO, which had a common tradition of struggle as the Lebanese, especially those in the south. So I would imagine a lot of the Palestinians were born as Lebanese, and so they are Lebanese and Palestinian. Meanwhile, the U.S. armed fascists. As the progressive movement grew, Washington feared that a revolutionary overturn in Lebanon would stop U.S. profit-taking there, and saw the PLO as an obstacle to its regional domination. The Pentagon began to arm right-wing Lebanese groups, especially the Kataib, which is the Social Democrats, which is the Phalangists, an openly fascist party that originally called itself the Phalange after the fascist party of Franco in Spain. This ultra-right Christian Maronite group was headed by the Gemayel family Zuama. That's the guy I was talking about who who admired Nazi Germany. U.S. funds and arms were sent to them.
Hold on. Can I? Okay. So Bashir Gemayel.
They've been in power.
Gemayel.
Yeah.
So he was the phalangist.
I think he was the one who got assassinated, maybe. But I think Sami Gemayel is still in charge of whatever. Is it the Kataib party or the government or whatever?
So in 1980, the Phalangist party was led militarily, and politically by that man. His name is Bashir Gemayel, I assume.
It's like
So he
there's
tried to like establish total dominance over the Christian populated regions of the country.
but
And
look up Pierre
that was
Gemayel.
who?
He's a Pierre Gemayel. Their whole like they've been in charge
So
of
this is
Lebanon
another.
for a long fucking time, is what I'm saying. This family has
Oh,
been
so it's a whole family.
yes, from
Got
father to
it.
son to grandson, they are all guilty of atrocities. Okay.
Got it. Okay,
Yeah.
because
The
he
Pierre
ran an
was like the
aggressive
original
campaign to like unify all the Maronite Christians.
Yeah.
Maronite Christian militias. Okay, under the umbrella of Lebanese forces. So basically, the military, the Lebanon military was under their control. This is why Hezbollah was formed, to be not an attack, but because they knew their country was so corrupted by these people that they had to form their own militias as an actual people. And that's what Hezbollah is. It is an answer to a problem.
It's an anti-imperialist.
And the problem is imperialism.
coalition.
Yes. Okay. I came back at the right time. All right. Go ahead.
It's wild. Yeah. I mean, the Maronite, like Christo-fascists, they're literally their end game would be to make Lebanon non-Arab, which is basically to make it a white nation. I mean, think about it. The name of the country is Lebanon, which means like white one, talking about the cap of the mountain, apparently. But that's definitely not a dog whistle double entendre. Anyway.
Absolutely not. But keep going, because yeah, we'll keep going.
Okay.
But that was good. I came back at the exact right time to say that. And I didn't know that. I didn't know it was a whole bloodline of Gemayels.
Yeah.
Or
like
what
look
have
up
you.
Pierre Gemayel. We'll get to him if
okay.
Well, I have
this is
actually
good
I'll
stuff.
share this one with you in the background. I'm gonna put this in the private chat because this is where I found an article that's like facts for kids, and it's an article about this fucking fascist, and they don't in the article say anything about like fascism. And how dare you? This is exactly what I'm talking about. When we teach our kids, it's actually important to teach them this kind of scary, violent shit or whatever, because otherwise you're gaslighting them and you're teaching them about a fascist without even telling them what they are. That's not.
Did it come from PragerU? I'm just playing.
I bet you whatever.
I'm just trying to keep laughing, you know.
Yeah. Now go look up whatever Kurt's Gazette or PragerU, and you see they got the same kind of shit. Yeah. Okay.
All right, keep going.
So U.S. funds and arms were sent to them via private contractors through NATO allies and clients like Iran, which was at the time was led by the Shah, which is also very much like Nazi, whatever, admiring kind of shit, right? So, and finally through Israel, which had quickly become the Pentagon's most reliable client state in the Middle East. Israel's financial aid to these open Lebanese fascists can be traced as far back as 1951. The Kataib organization organized other right-wing militias, is what you're saying, into the Lebanese forces with the goal of protecting the status quo and eliminating the LNM and the Palestinian presence in Lebanon. 1975 to 90 civil war. Lebanon's people paid a terrible price for its 15-year civil war. An estimated 150,000 were killed, tens of thousands wounded, and hundreds of thousands displaced and left destitute. Most accounts of the war do not explain one of the most important factors, that the civil war was fed and prolonged by international forces to serve their own interests. And this is usually not just on the American side, but also I think it might be important for us to be critical enough to recognize that also means that supplying the resistance from actors such as Russia is not necessarily it's a bit complicated because this was during the Cold War, right? But nowadays, like, you can't necessarily trust any side whenever supplying anyone. You know what I mean? I'm making a kind of shitty point there. It's not really landing very well, but you know what I'm saying. Just about every major militia in Lebanon established a proxy relationship with a foreign state. Along with arming the right wing, the direct military intervention of Washington's proxy, Israel, in assisting the fascists was constant. The US, France, Britain, and Syria also sent in troops, and the US warships bombed Lebanese villages. Deeply racist against the Palestinians and scapegoating them for all Lebanon's problems, the Kataib Party began the civil war in April 1975 by attacking a busload of Palestinian civilians, massacring all 27. Battles began between the Kataib and the LNM PLO. Israel gave the fascists cover by bombing Lebanon, sometimes daily from the land, sea, and air. By early 1976, the LNM PLO controlled 80% of Lebanon's territory, had the allegiance of 75% of its population, and was about to win decisively, in spite of all of that assistance from the Pentagon and Israel, whatever. But Syria, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I want to read this comment for you. Sean said, Michael, remember, we can't trust anything but what we see. I don't know what IRL means.
In real life.
Oh, in real life.
And even
okay,
that,
thank you.
You can't, just because you see it, whatever, doesn't mean you understand it, you know? But that's a good point. Thank you. So let me see, where was I? Oh, this is, yeah. So they controlled 80% of Lebanon's territory, had the allegiance of 75% of the population, and was about to win decisively. But Syria, which had backed the LNM PLO and even provided most of the LNM's weapons, suddenly switched sides and stopped the victory of the progressives by sending troops to Lebanon to fight alongside the fascists. Now, this is complicated. I had not had time to do enough research on this, but from what I understand, this is Bashar Assad's father. I forget what his name was, but I think he might have been in power when this sounds like it happened. Well, I mean, it definitely happened. I mean, like, it sounds like he was in power when this happened. So if anyone could kind of fact check me on that if they feel like it. But it's the whole thing about support for the Assad regime. That was one of the things that was kind of complicated for Marxists until it collapsed. It was kind of a problematic support. You know, it was like a morally compromised kind of thing. We're kind of coerced to support that government and whatnot. And it was not exactly what we wanted to do, but it was in the spirit of anti-imperialism that it made more sense. It was a lesser of two evils. Unfortunately, I feel like that kind of logic kind of demonstrates to be pretty, like, tactically unsound, right? Just because they appear to be the lesser of two evils, whatever, it means that they have the opportunity to betray you when the timing is right. And so this is kind of what happened with Assad, Bashar Assad. He was relying on Russia and China and Iran or whatever, and somebody backstabbed him for sure. I don't know if he backstabbed people and deserved it first or whatever, but I'm just saying this is very, whatever, no clean hands in this situation, you know, like, and they haven't really said it yet. I hope they mention the Socialist Nationalist Party of Syria, because this is what I was talking about. This article is not exactly telling the whole truth. This was before, like, there's a red-brown alliance that occurs here. And this is where, but it's in 1982 from my research. So it's probably in response to this. The left was going to win in 1976, but then Syria backstabbed them. And then by 1982, this LNM that was started by, what's his name? It says it up here, Kamal Jumblat, or whatever. This guy's like a Marxist. And this coalition ends up joining into a coalition with the Syrian nationalist, which is the Nazi Syrians that I was talking about, that are the pan-Arabs, like fascists, that are, they're happy to enter in a coalition with Marxists to smash the phalangist, whatever, fascists that are pro-Western, you know. And it's where the Eurasianists are also fascists, and they are backing the Syrians fascist, whatever. It gets pretty complicated, right? But they're still fascists, whatever. As much as you want to say because they're Russians that they're not somehow. There's a whole lot of like pro-monarchy, whatever, white Russians that is still been part of the whole history, whatever, that doesn't get talked about as much because we think about the Soviet Union and whatnot. But let me get to all that, whatever. Hopefully they mention it in this article, or else I'm going to have to go looking for it to kind of prove my case. So I thought that they did. It's just they should have mentioned it like when they talked about 1982 up here or whatever. So because this is like the end of the Palestinian liberation organization or whatever, I think might have been kind of a fatal consequence of that Red Brown Alliance. But I don't, I'm a bit of an amateur historian here, so my bad for getting confused if that's the case.
Well, thank you for your apology, but really we're just trying to give a backstory so people could have more of an understanding of what's going on, right? We're not.
Yeah.
We don't.
I'm just
We
saying.
don't have the answers, like.
And if I were in this hellhole, whatever situation, I probably would end up making the exact same choices, as far as critical as I can be from the detached observer from the West kind of shit. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, don't be so surprised if that your Red-Brown alliance that you formed to destroy the Browns didn't work. I mean, and it's actually, I have to do, when I get to writing the next article I'm writing, I want to try and cover the National Salvation Front. That's specifically the Red-Brown Alliance I'm talking about. There was a National Salvation Front at the heart of the constitutional crisis in Russia in 1993. But in 1982, a National Salvation Front, which was also a Red-Brown Alliance, was formed in Lebanon. And I think in Egypt, there was a similar Red-Brown Alliance. I just forget exactly what time, but I've noticed a pattern of like specifically National Salvation Front being the name of this Red-Brown Alliance.
So
and this is like, I think it's like a CIA or a KGB kind of tactic from what I can gather.
I want to play this. I want to show this to you. This is someone new in the comments. We've never seen him before. Him or her. Welcome. Okay. This is what they say. I'm from Lebanon.
My flag so gay. He's from Lebanon and would like to.
Oh yeah. The flag is that flag so gay. I don't know what that means. That flag so gay.
I don't know. Depending on what kind of a Lebanese you are, if you're one of these Maronites, then you're just one of the fascists popping in here to tell me that my communist critique doesn't land when it does completely. So good for you. Not living in the past at all. I'm doing the historical materialism of explaining why we are here. And what we need to do is kick the fascists out of Lebanon if you really want your national integrity.
Do you know who always tells you that living in the past is a problem?
The fascists say that a lot,
Yes,
but they're the ones.
Exactly.
They're the ones who are the ones trying to not allow the future to happen.
If
they're trying to make us stay in the present, which becomes the past.
But you're welcome here. First Amendment right. Just don't be mean. That's all we ask.
Well, and he says that this flag, which is a fundamental attribution error.
He's talking about that flag. Oh, okay.
That flag ruined his country, and I'm saying actually, from what I've my take on this is more that the Soviets made a fatal mistake. If they are calling themselves Marxist-Leninist and they're doing this vanguard strategy, what they ended up doing in the Middle East was not really being the vanguard. They made the vanguard the Islamists or whatever, they supported the Muslim national identities, whatever, as a kind of real politic strategy that sort of compromised their principles in a way. And they'd lost the vanguard to the Islamic revolution. And to me, that's kind of, now you can't, anti-communism kind of benefited from that strategy in the Middle East. And it's very difficult now to bring back popularity of communism in the Middle East because the Soviets themselves kind of fostered Arab Muslim nationalism as opposed to Marxist class consciousness and struggle. So
I just wonder why is he so afraid? Why is he so afraid of us trying to educate people in the United States about the history of Lebanon, so we can look at what's going on at Lebanon in 2026 with a clearer lens. Why are you afraid of that? That's weird to me.
History is a battleground there, so it's just everyone, has their opinion about what we should be teaching the people about the past and whatnot. So he's saying, what makes me proud of that
So
flag?
are you wait, is he? Sorry.
That's okay.
Finish your statement.
He's just asking me about what makes me proud.
You
about
said
that
what makes
flag.
you proud about that. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd say there are certainly a few things that I'm ashamed of that happened with the Soviet Union. I'm not the kind of communist that's going to try and whitewash the crimes of communists. We have done them. Okay. I just think if you really want to be realistic about capitalism versus communism, it is still the better one system to support. Capitalism leads to fascism. It's imperialism. It is by far so much more vicious and deadly and unethical and needs to be dismantled for our own good. And to me, the only communism has proven to be the system that needs to be the one that replaces this, because any other thing you try to do kind of loops back into this, whatever. You have to understand that when we concentrate power into this individual, as if the individual's power has more right to power than the collective community, then the community is never going to be able to have the self-determination, the national liberation that you all want. You just don't think that communism is your route to that. And I think that it is. And I think history is proving every time we try it your way that you don't really get the kind of sovereignty that you think that you're going to get. Because at the end of the day, a lot of one of the problems I had with Christianity and Islam, a lot of the Arab nations, they're still pro-monarchy or they're still pro-capitalist, and they don't want to learn the lesson that it doesn't matter what kind of part of the world you come from, what kind of ethnicity you have. Capitalism is bad for you in a universal kind of way. It does not matter who you are. You cannot make it work any better than the white man can. But let's get off of this, whatever. We can go all day. There's a whole lot of things. Like if you want to talk about Armenia,
I didn't mean to put that in there.
Union is fucking up Armenia or whatever, for sure. So it's not just the Soviets. Like the Soviets did not exist in a vacuum. There were the Americans and the Turks. And the fucking Israelis, they all fucked up Armenia too. You can't just put all the blame on one fucking group. Anyway.
And I wanna address this. You could tell stories, not teach. We're not trying to teach. We're talking. We're talking. We're reading. We're talking.
Us, and we're just sharing
looking
our
up information. That's what we're doing. So if you have a problem with that, then that's your problem, not ours. But I'll say this, Bed Arb. On Tuesdays, we have an open discussion where we open the chat and people can come up and talk to us. So I would encourage you to come back on Tuesday so we can actually have a conversation. We're willing to talk to you. We would love it. We encourage it.
Anyways, yeah, let me get back to this because we're at 2 hours already. So I wanted to share a little bit of another thing after this, because this article mentioned earlier that this Phoenician identity was invented, and I could I clicked on the link that it was shared, and that was also a pretty good article. So unless there's anything better to share besides that, I don't know, but we'll get through this a bit more. So Syria, which had backed the LNM PLO and even provided most of the LNM's weapons, suddenly switched sides and stopped the victory of the progressives by sending troops to Lebanon to fight alongside the fascists. This was a severe blow to Lebanon's workers and progressives. It was later revealed that Syria had sought and gotten permission from the US before it attacked the LNM PLO. Syria sought only to stabilize the situation in Lebanon and bring the Palestinian resistance under its control. It did not do away with Lebanon's confessional system, a central LNM demand. The Damascus government was threatened by the possibility of full revolutionary overturn in its Lebanon neighbor, as it feared this might ignite revolution back home. It also feared a revolutionary overturn might prompt a U.S. invasion of Lebanon and possibly of Syria as well. Well, how are you doing now, Syria? Syrian troops remained in Lebanon until 2005. In 1977, Israel occupied South Lebanon and allegedly to protect Christian villages from the PLO, created and armed the South Lebanese army. This proxy Christian militia of puppets and collaborators was Israeli-trained, armed, and equipped, given air cover by the IDF, and fought alongside Israeli troops. In addition to repressing the population, Israel and the SLA shelled and threatened Lebanese army units that attempted to reassert Lebanese sovereignty over the South. 1978 to 89 Camp David Accords and the Iranian Revolution. Two regional events in 1978-9 would have a major impact on Lebanon. The 1978 Camp David Accords, a peace treaty between Egypt and Israel brokered by President Jimmy Carter, was hailed in the West, but it was seen by the Arab world not as bringing peace, but as a betrayal that heralded war. The Accords took Egypt, the most populous Arab country with the largest army, out of the Arab camp and into the U.S. camp. With no need for a major troop deployment against Egypt on its southern border, Israel was free to launch a long-planned invasion of Lebanon to its north. The second event was the 1978 Iranian Revolution, which deposed the Shah of Iran, who ruled over one of the most repressive regimes in the world. Up until then, Washington's regional hegemony in the Middle East had been anchored by Israel and by Iran, a populous country whose huge oil reserves were controlled by U.S. companies while the population remained impoverished. The new government took Iran out of the imperialist camp, used its oil wealth to develop the country, to raise the standard of living of its people, and to assist others in the area fighting imperialism. Unfortunately here, this is what I'm saying. You want to tell me that I don't have any ability to teach anybody. This 1978 revolution was also a revolution that rejected communism. Okay, he was, I think, famous for saying neither East nor West. So this moment, I think, was part of the blowback against the Soviets or whatever for their strategy. So, because right now, Iran and China are very much strange bedfellows, whether they like it or not. So I actually think that Iran would be in a much better place right now had they had a communist revolution instead of an Islamic revolution in this time, and had the Sino-Soviet split not happen and Russia remained communist, you would have an entirely communist bloc right now instead of three very ideologically incompatible, whatever, nation states, whatever, trying to make it work out of necessity because of the greater evil of America. It's actually the exact same situation as when Russia felt compelled to ally with England and France and the US against Nazi Germany. And while that everyone can hail that as the right thing to do at the time, the immediate Cold War that took place as soon as Nazi Germany was defeated demonstrated that this kind of a strategy of working with the enemy of my enemy, it is very dangerous. Like, it is a good way to what is it? To buy a stay of execution potentially for decades, but then your ally will be your executioner if you're not careful. So, whoops. Okay. Where did I feel like okay, here we go. So the second event was the Iranian Revolution, which deposed the Shah. Up until then, Washington's regional hegemony in the Middle East had been anchored by Israel and by Iran, a populous country whose huge oil reserves were controlled by U.S. companies while the population remained impoverished. The new government took Iran out of the imperialist camp, used its oil wealth to develop the country to raise the standard of living of its people and assist others in the area fighting imperialism. Meanwhile, in Lebanon, Israel raised its own demands that Lebanon's sectarian government system be kept intact and that the PLO leave Lebanon. Increased Israel bombardment aimed to bolster its Lebanese fascist allies and thwart any agreements between the Lebanese government, Syria, the PLO, and the Lebanese political factions which might implement reforms. Tel Aviv's attacks culminated in a 1978 invasion of the south that killed more than 2,000 Palestinian and Lebanese, used U.S.-provided anti-personnel cluster bombs against civilians, and displaced 200,000 people. In 1981, Israel bombed Beirut, killing 300 and wounding 800. Then in June 1982, Israel again invaded. Israeli troops rampaged through Lebanon, indiscriminately bombing southern villages, killing 20,000. See, this is where I'm saying, but my research on the National Salvation Front also tells me that there was a peace agreement that the Lebanese, I guess the fascist-occupied Lebanese government was trying to sign with Israel, and they intervened in 1982 to prevent that peace agreement from having effect, and then Israel invaded.
And this was the year that Hezbollah was formed, by the way.
Exactly.
During the Lebanese Civil War. So basically, when we were talking about what they call the Maronites, the Maronite Christians, that infiltrated the military, and then Hezbollah formed to be a counter to that in 1982. It was a response to the Israeli invasion of southern Lebanon. But you might be getting to that. I don't know.
I don't think Hezbollah was part of this National Salvation Front, but it does seem.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, I know.
It was formed.
But it was formed around the same time.
Around the same time, as a counter to the Maronite Christian military group that was imposed on the people. That's my understanding.
Yep. And just to be fair, we support Hezbollah as communists in a kind of conditional sort of way, because they are not left-wing or Marxists in any kind of way, from what I remember. But they are fighting an anti-imperialist struggle, and they have every right, to defend their nation, and whether that's codified by international law or not, this is the thing about people are kind of pushed into fascism when their country is when someone's trying to colonize their country, that repressive kind of force, it sort of naturally tries to push people into a fascistic kind of reaction to that. And it's very difficult for people, especially if they're not politically educated, to resist that. So Israeli troops rampaged through Lebanon, indiscriminately bombing southern villages, killing 20,000. Within days, they occupied half the country, then besieged Beirut for 2 months, demanding that the PLO and its fighters leave Lebanon as a condition for ending the siege. The PLO agreed only after U.S. Special Negotiator Philip Habib promised that neither Israel nor the Kataib would enter West Beirut, and that Palestinians in Lebanese camps would be safe and free from reprisals. But in August 1982, U.S. troops invaded and betrayed the PLO, as they always do. President Ronald Reagan sent in U.S. Marines as part of a multinational force that included France, Britain, and Italy, allegedly to keep the peace, but really to make sure the PLO and its fighters left Lebanon for Tunisia, far from any Israeli border from which they might try to liberate their country. The colonial power militaries quit Lebanon on September 10th as soon as the PLO evacuation was complete, leaving Israel in control of Beirut. Israel immediately occupied West Beirut and allowed the Kataib militia to enter the now unarmed Sabra and Shatila Palestinian refugee camps. For 2 days, the Kataib tortured, raped, dismembered, and murdered 3,500 Palestinian and poor Lebanese Shia in the camps. September 16 to 18, 1982, witnessed the Sabra and Shatila massacre. Israel immediately occupied West Beirut and allowed the Kataib militia to enter the now unarmed Sabra. Oh, I feel like they wrote that twice. For 2 days, they murdered.
May I say something really quick?
Go ahead.
Bedar, what we're trying to remind people is it's not just about Iran, because that's what most of Americans are focusing on, the Iran excursion or war. We still can't figure out what it's supposed to be. But in the midst of that, everybody's talking about Iran and nobody's talking about Lebanon. And Lebanon deserves a a modicum of respect. They deserve to not be lost in what's happening. And so that's why we're doing this. Since
By
you
the
asked.
way, everyone who's watching, just don't listen to Bedarb. Don't listen to this guy trying to come onto our show and tell everyone that I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. This is the first time you've ever been here. So maybe you could come back and watch more than a couple shows and then make a bit more of an informed opinion. I have no reason to assume that you know what the fuck you're talking about either. You're sitting here complaining that I'm talking about the history of the fascists in Lebanon and that the Hezbollah is not a terrorist organization and that the American portrayal of them as such is all about distorting the history of who they're really fighting. All right. I don't expect anything from you either. I'm sure you are just one of these Maronite fascists. Enjoy your health. Okay.
Bedar, I don't think you know him like I know him. Don't get cooked, okay?
So you telling me that you had to hit like the you were gonna talk about how Hezbollah was formed. So it gets to that point here. So I'm just gonna read the next couple paragraphs and then we'll hand it over to you. All right? Is that good?
Yeah. Okay. So I just messed up because let me put that back on you. So you're saying
our own history. We're literally gonna get to that in the next couple weeks.
We're not really teaching. We're just talking. We're not teachers. You have to understand, we're not.
I'm
teachers.
sharing what I found, and if that teaches
and we're
people,
talking about
whether
it.
I'm a teacher
we're
or not,
trying,
like you don't have
to learn.
You don't have to be a professional with credentials to be able to teach or learn something from someone. This is the credentials fallacy. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to act like someone who's been through school to know how to teach people in a very professional and proper way. But I do find that they don't teach you this shit if you try to go to learn from these alleged professionals that somehow always leave the fucking the quiet part out loud, where they always leave the important parts, the most important parts out of the story.
If you look at most independent media, they're like running after the headlines, the story. You know, like what happens next? You know, for clicks and views, like what's going on. But here, what we do is say, hold on, let's step back a moment because things don't happen in a vacuum. So we need to go back and look at the history that our countries, he's from Canada, I'm from the United States, haven't taught us, so we can make a way more informed decision on what's going on.
And
that's what we do here.
As far as the
so I don't know why you're mad. Are you going to any other channels or like talking about them? Because all they're doing is like, ooh, Lebanon just got attacked. Da, 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 da. It's to me that's more ridiculous than what we're doing here.
It's like clickbait.
And if you don't like it, you don't have to stay. Like it's cool, bro. It's cool. Or sis, I don't know what you are.
I was just saying, and then between you and me, like compared to the average American and the average Canadian, we are a little bit more informed, I'd have to say. A little bit more than a little bit. You know, we actually try. You could maybe, I don't know, I would hope that people appreciate the fact that some of us do try, even if we're not as smart as you think we are, or as you hope that we would be. You know what I mean? So anyways, so on the same day that U.S. troops reoccupied Beirut, Israel withdrew from that city but remained in South Lebanon. Israel occupied 10% of Lebanon for 18 years, terrorizing the population and diverting water from the Litani River, crucial to Lebanese agriculture, to Israel. By 1987, the Lebanese government hardly existed, the Lebanese pound had collapsed, the army had divided by sect, and militias provided wages, mostly to fighters, and rationed goods. With the war at a stalemate for 7 years, in 1990, the Arab League brokered the Taif Accord, ending the fighting. This agreement restored the same caste-like form of government with a few reforms. For example, the parliament was made 50% Christian and 50% Muslim. The power of the Sunni prime minister was enhanced over that of the Christian president. And Lebanon was defined as an Arab country. This is basically like the textbook definition of a Pyrrhic victory. Commitments were made but never fulfilled for the gradual elimination of confessionalism and for an end to Israeli occupation of the South. The agreement called for but did not follow up on disarming private militias. The agreement, however, exempted Hezbollah from the call to disarm because it was the resistance fighting Israeli occupation. So that's an agreement that they signed, eh? That they were resistance, not terrorists.
Inspired by the newly formed Islamic Republic of Iran in the 1979 revolution. But I feel like you already passed that, didn't you?
What, the 1979 revolution?
Yes.
That's why if you go over a few things all over.
Sorry. I think he got me shook, you know.
Oh, my bad.
Not you.
Oh, him. Okay, no.
Yeah.
We got to learn with I wouldn't say he's a troll, but he's maybe a critic, which is fair enough.
And that's fine. And I'm okay with that, you know. I just I'm okay with that. Just come back Tuesday. How about that? Because there's no way we're going to derail this entire what we have to present for one person. It's not going to happen. We did it for a moment to welcome you. You're welcome here. And now we're done.
Well, it looks like Bedarb's getting out of here. He says, thank you for the conversation. I appreciate you being polite in spite of your disagreements with us. Thank you for staying civil. Have a good day.
Okay, well, so I wanted to show this. No. So let's talk about Hezbollah for a moment, because I saw this really great comedic skit from what's his name? George Carlson. I got that right? George Carlson. It's the way they play with words and how they're terrorists. We're freedom fighters. You know, like the way they form terms for them versus us. I thought it was very interesting. Now, this is from October 16, 2023, okay? What is Hezbollah? What to know about its origin, structure, and history. Hezbollah is a Shiite Muslim political party and militant group based in Lebanon, where its extensive security apparatus, political organization, and social services network have fostered its reputation as a state within a state. Now, what does that sound like to you? Where its extensive security apparatus, political organization, and social services network have fostered its reputation as a state within a state. That sounds like the Black Panthers to me.
That sounds like Quebec to me.
Well, I don't know anything about Canada, baby, so
Quebec is literally defined as a state within a state.
Oh, well, for people in America, that sounds like the Black Panthers to me.
So is that like one of their lines that they had, their math lines?
No, I'm just saying what I read and what I know sounds like the Black Panthers. The Black Panthers secured, like, the Second Amendment. They secured guns and knew the law. And then California, because Black people were getting way too cute with the guns, protecting themselves and their community against the police. They passed the Mumford Act, so black people couldn't carry guns like that. And then it says, so that's the security apparatus, right? Political organization, they absolutely were. They had a Black Panther Party. And then it says, I gotta move this.
Well, as far as the Black
And
Panther,
social, hold on, baby. Social services network that fosters its reputation. That's the they started a free healthcare program, and they started the program to feed children, free breakfast program. The breakfast program in the United States is based on the Black Panther Party because it was so, people loved it so much that the government implemented it
because they had
for pre-K and kindergartners.
That's cool. But
So that sounds like the Black Panther Party to me. So right off the bat, I'm cool with Hezbollah.
Okay, but
right
I had to say, if that's what reminds you of the Black Panther Party, I'm pretty sure the motivation for them to do that was them putting Marxism-Leninism into practice. Literally, that's called building dual power, and that would naturally, if it was done effectively, that would create a state within a state. And then you're not beholden, relying on this corrupt capitalist regime to fucking supply you with your daily needs, right? And that's why it was necessary to smash them. I'm
not arguing that. Of course. No. Yeah. Founded in the chaos of the 15-year Lebanese civil war, the Iran-backed group is driven by its opposition to Israel and its resistance to Western influence in the Middle East. With its history of carrying out global terrorist attacks, parts of Hezbollah, and in some cases the entire organization, have been designated a terrorist group by the United States and many other countries. So let that sink in. With its history of carrying out global terrorist attacks, is it a terrorist attack when you're responding to behaviors and atrocities that have been inflicted upon you? How does that make you a terrorist? They do that to black people all the time in America.
Yeah, I don't know if you misheard something.
What the fuck?
No, we're not shitting on Hezbollah. The opposite, right?
No.
Just try to make a clarification if maybe that's what you heard about.
They are how he heard
right wing, from what I can tell. They're not communist, whatever, but that's not. From what I can tell, they're also not fascist, so I can support them. So I'm not shitting on them at all.
Oh, was he asking you that question? Because I was clear. I was clearly saying.
He wanted to clarify. I'm not sure if he wants to let us know if he was talking to somebody else.
I was clearly saying they sound like a Black Panther to me.
Yeah.
And I'm all for them.
But I think
100% support.
I'm pretty sure that they're not Marxist. I should probably fact check that, whatever. But I think it would probably be their religious proclivity that maybe stops them from embracing Marxism. So,
but the thing is, when you're in a sovereign country, like I don't know their religious, but they don't have anything to do with me. Okay, a sovereign country needs to figure out their own problems. Let them do that. Why are you interfering? So even if, and I'm not saying Hezbollah is, even if they're like a radical religious group, and I'm not saying that they are, because I've never read that or anything. I'm giving a scenario. I'm not even gonna say Hezbollah. If there is a radical religious group in your country, it is the job of the people of the country to fix that. It's nobody else's business It's nobody else. Nobody needs to come help. Leave these people alone
Well, it's just
and
like
let them figure it out.
in an ideal world, we could do that though, because I mean, sovereignty is one of these things that's sort of it's a sham because of the capitalist system. So, like the billionaires, that's where they get maybe frustrated with China being an exception to the rule or whatever. But nationalism doesn't really matter to the rich. They'll make money off of whatever kind of country that they can. And
But when you
so,
sorry,
go ahead.
Finish your statement. I cut you off.
I'm just not sure exactly where I was going with that. I'm just saying, like, I think people try and treat sovereignty and nationalism like a little bit too, like it's something that was given to us by the capitalists. It's something that they kind of need to create this false consciousness of nationalism, to like give us this political identity that has nothing to do with like achieving socialism sort of thing. And so it has always kind of served as this distraction and confusion for people, and then people reify it into more of a real thing than it actually is, where they make it as a more of a necessary and impossible to move beyond, like it is this eternal state of affairs, when it's really a very actually recent invention, the nation state. That's what I want. I hope we make sure we get a little bit to that thing about the Phoenician origin story, because that says what I'm saying very. It corroborates my opinion.
I think you're talking about the phalangist origin story.
The Phoenician origin story. The phalangists, they make up, in order to make up their conception of what type of nationalism Lebanese people are supposed to embrace or whatever, they invent this mythological kind of connection that doesn't exist. And that's what kind of is at the root. That's what nationalism ends up being for the most part. Is this fakery that has to be treated like it's so much more real than everything else. And it's like, stop it. I don't need to, you can believe in that, whatever, but it's not good for you. That's my opinion.
The biggest issue is that when nations have problems within itself, it's usually because another nation is interfering into business that they ain't got shit to do with.
What I'm trying to say is that the nation that you're talking about is a preconception or like a presupposition of a common people with a common shared interest, which is already kind of a falsehood. A lot of these people that are like, I feel like Canada is a great example or whatever. We don't really, in America too, whatever, we're not really a nation because we don't really have shared interests or values or anything. We kind of all hate each other. But we pretend like we're all Canadian. But we don't really even want to be like most Canadians, they're more about like they identify with their country of origin more so than their actual Canadian heritage, unless they're trying to do this nationalistic kind of right-wing whatever pride of whatever. Like
that's so interesting you just said that. I just watched this thing from Neil deGrasse Tyson, where he was like, so he said the origin of everybody is in Africa, okay? He said, but if you notice, a lot of people, they'll say, oh, I'm Irish. Wait, but where were you born? America. Where were your parents born? America. Where were your grandparents born? I mean, Ireland. Oh, so you're Irish because of that. Okay, well, why don't you go back further? Keep going. You just want to stop at Ireland.
You go back far enough that you get
to the go back far enough
who do not see themselves as belonging to any kind of a nation. What you see that they kind of identify with their family, their tribe, whatever. They're like the community that they're in, whatever it is. You know, it's not about like this whole country. You know, it's like my cousins, my whatever second cousins. Those are my people. That's what it was. And like aunts and uncles and brothers and sisters, and then maybe like the neighboring tribe that's half like cousins with us because we've been. And then people like that with this presentism from modern times where people look into the past and then they go, oh, you can see the nation before it was a nation. Where but what we're doing is you're taking your modern ideas and imposing it on people that don't agree with that or would not think with like that.
This is a great discussion. Should I continue reading or?
Yeah. We've been going on tangents today, so I guess we're
which is fine.
we're bringing it back, right?
Which is just fine. Gotta get back to okay. So with this, we talked about this already. With this history of carrying out global terrorist attacks, parts of Hezbollah. No, we down here now. Okay. How did Hezbollah originate? Hezbollah emerged during Lebanon's 15-year civil war, which broke out in 1975 when long simmering discontent over the large armed Palestinian presence in the country reached a boiling point. Various Lebanese sectarian communities held different positions on the nature of the Palestinian challenge. Now, I need to make it clear this is from PBS.org, and the fact that they're saying armed Palestinian presence in the country reached a boiling point does not sit well with me, because a lot of those Palestinians had to flee into Lebanon. So
a lot of these Western sources write about this. They try and tell you an origin story, and they teach you this falsehood from the beginning. It's like filled with like racial bullshit, like racist bullshit, you know.
So under a 1943 political agreement, political power is divided among Lebanon's prominent religious groups. A Sunni Muslim served as prime minister, a Maronite Christian as president, and a Shiite Muslim as the Speaker of Parliament. Tensions between these groups evolved into civil war as several factors upset the delicate balance. The Sunni population had grown with the arrival of Palestinian refugees, which is what I mentioned, in Lebanon, while Shiites felt increasingly marginalized by the ruling Christian minority. Okay. Shiites, wait, hold on. Amid the fighting.
Were majority. The Christian minority that did this fake census to claim that they were majority. I'm
glad you said that. So don't be surprised when we do the stuff about the Black Indians in America. Okay, don't be surprised. Yeah. Remember this. Okay, remember this. Okay, amid the infighting, Israeli forces invaded southern Lebanon in 1978 and again in 1982 to expel Palestinian guerrilla fighters that used the region as their base to attack Israel. All right, so what does it say? A group of Shiites influenced the theocratic government in Iran. The region's major Shiite government, which came to power in 1979, took up arms against the Israeli occupation. Seeing an opportunity to expand its influence in Arab states, Iran and its Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is IRGC, provided funds and training to the budding militia, which adopted the name Hezbollah, meaning the Party of God. It earned a reputation for extremist militancy. I have never heard that word before. extremist militancy. Due to its frequent clashes with rival Shiite militias, such as the Amal movement, and attacks on foreign targets, including the 1983 suicide bombing of barracks housing U.S. and French troops in Beirut, in which more than 300 people died. Hezbollah became a vital asset to Iran, bridging Shiite Arab prison divides as Tehran. Persian. Did I say prison?
Yeah.
Let me start over. Hezbollah became a vital asset to Iran, bridging Shiite Arab Persian divides as Tehran established proxies throughout the Middle East. Hezbollah bills itself as a Shiite resistance movement, and it enshrined its ideology in 1985 manifesto that vowed to expel Western powers from Lebanon, called for the destruction of the Israeli state, and pledged allegiance to Iran's supreme leader. It also advocated an Iran-inspired Islamist regime, but emphasized that the Lebanese people should have the freedom of self-determination. Now, I'm sorry, but is something wrong with this?
Well, I would
this seems like self-determination to me.
The one like mild little criticism I would say about when they're pledging allegiance to Iran's leader, and then there's been this constant claim that they're not a proxy of Iran, and yet they sort of kind of seem to be a proxy of Iran. Just I guess I think objectively they seem like or maybe subjectively.
Sorry.
And then Iran insisting in the peace deal thing that unless Hezbollah is included in our treaty, there's no deal. To me, that's a little bit of a giveaway that you do treat them like a proxy. But is that like the stuff you're not allowed to say without being thrown out of the communist camp kind of thing by the hardliners?
I feel like, and this is how I feel, that it's because they know Iran is a bigger superpower than them, and will provide them with support. So if I am on a schoolhouse ground, right? I'm little, I'm tiny, and everybody else is bigger than me, and bullying me. And one bigger person is like, that's real fucked up. I don't want them bullying you. I'm going to protect you. Like, as long as you hang out with me, we good. You think I ain't going to lie myself with them?
Right. But it's
because I'm fucking scared.
Right. But the denial of the dependency that is more of I think, it's like a strategic, a political necessity for the denial. I'm sure, like, behind closed doors, they maybe would be a little bit more willing to admit that, yeah, we're a proxy, whatever. It's like that's only a problem.
Well, you know,
like
that
is when the enemy, where the enemy's proxy, whatever. The West uses proxies all the time and everything. You know what I mean? And it's like the way that people see things. Most people aren't Marxists, wherever they see things with like the neoconservative, like understanding of the way that geopolitics works, and that treats everybody like proxies in every other situation except for this one, whatever. It just doesn't pass the smell test to me a little bit.
I feel like that's conjecture. That's not something you can prove. That is more of an opinion, you know what I mean? Like, I gave my opinion, you gave yours. Yeah. But yeah. I don't feel like that's fact. You know what I mean?
I don't think it's like that.
Jacqueline over here being petty.
It's not a big deal, you know. It's just like some people like to call themselves realists, but then it's funny that the things that are pretty obvious, I think, to me anyway, that they like to pretend is not real or whatever, you know. But are we gonna go back to reading your thing, or we wrapping up soon, or?
Let me see if there's more. There was a map, but it's too small to show. Do you want me to read more? Because I can.
Sure. It's
Let's
getting to be
see.
almost 9. I'm gonna have to be taking the dog for a walk in a bit, but I wanted to share. Maybe you could. You weren't you telling me you needed to kind of. You can't go too late tonight, or
Well, I was. Black Life is supposed to be going to shoot pool with her coworkers, and she's all like worried about it that she hadn't shoot pool in a while, and she's very competitive. So I was supposed to go shoot pool with her.
okay.
But she's not back yet. She's getting her hair twisted. I don't like it, but that's what she wanted to do. So I'll just
maybe
deal
we'll see
with
if she looks
it. I'll just deal with it.
good. So just let me.
Did I share mine? Oh, I shared mine. You want to share something else?
Do you want to read a little bit more, and because we can
Let me
go.
see how much it is.
10 minutes
It's
before 9, and then we
it's
can go a
it's a
little bit
lot.
past 9 too. We don't have to go. I
Look,
don't have
it's
to
a
go
lot.
right away.
It's a
Yeah.
lot.
So
So
we'll
if you don't,
try and put it in the Discord for those who want to
okay, I could do that.
up on it. But and
I
by
could
the
do that.
way, speaking of the Discord, why don't we share an invite for anyone who might be wanting? Although it's kind of hard for those of you who might not be watching live with us, who is catching this on the rewind. I can put the Discord link in the chat, and you can see it up on the screen. But I think it's like if you don't click on it within the time limit, it expires. So, but it's there anyways. Feel free to join us. We try to share our links after the show on the Discord. We don't always get it done every week, but because we don't always get through every part of every article and everything that we share. So if you're interested, you want to finish reading it yourself, feel free. So this is just what I wanted to share before we get out of here, if you don't mind. Again, this is a very long thing, but I found it very, very interesting because it's not just the Lebanese. There's another history, and you see where it comes from. It's always the Europeans, or whatever, the colonizers trying to poison and colonize the minds of the people, like in the other nations, so-called nations around the world, and then defining like what those nations are. And so as much as like consciously aware that I'm a white guy telling you this stuff, whatever, this is like them, like the white people teaching every other culture around the world what their culture is. So don't let the white people tell you who you are, obviously. So modern nationalism created history as we know it today. What we learn in school, what we study at university, what we read at home is all shaped by the forms and norms of our nation states. Modern nationalism took history from the province of the wealthy gentleman amateur, as nationalism's focus on literacy and organized education professionalized and democratized the past. And in return, history is called upon to justify nationalism itself, as well as the existence of particular nation states. Eric Hobsbawm once said, "History is to nationalism what the poppy is to the opium addict." I like that. That's pretty cool. All this gives modern nationalism an extraordinary power to shape and misshape the practice and understanding not only of modern history, but even of antiquity. Take the ancient Phoenicians, enlisted in support of the nationalist histories of Lebanon, Britain, and Ireland, and in some cases seriously distorted by them. Despite claims by various partisans of Lebanese, British, and Irish nationalism to enlist the Phoenicians as their ancient progenitor, the Phoenicians never existed as a self-conscious community, let alone a nascent nation. In the aftermath of the First World War, the Ottoman Empire that had ruled the Levant for 400 years collapsed. European powers scrambled to carve up the region in their own relatively new model of nation states, initially under British or French supervision. Sorry, go ahead.
Can we tell Jacqueline good night?
People taking off.
Tell Jacqueline good night.
Have a good night, Jack.
Sweetheart. Well, it's time to go.
Thanks
and Rondo been lurking. Rondo been lurking. Peace, fam.
Got into a little bit of something with a religious viewer commentator was a little critical of my, my whatever, those evil, godless communists. You know what I mean? So, my bad.
It happens. It's okay.
But that's okay. I mean,
Rhonda,
you can't be expected to talk about other people's countries without them having to say about it, for sure. Welcome those people. With the more the merrier.
And Rhonda, before Jacqueline leaves, she said, "You sound like Barry White. Barry White." Everybody loves Rhonda's voice.
All right, let me just get a little bit more out of this here, and then we can wrap it up soon. Bella's giving me the eyeballs, so just trying to read a little bit of this, just to kind of make it a little bit clear that they never existed as a self-conscious community, right? And that's kind of what people just miss, that part. And this is the Phoenicians are not the only example of this, right? Aryans comes to mind. So European powers scrambled to carve up the region in their own relatively new model of nation states after the Ottoman Empire collapsed. The French Mandate of Syria included a strip of prosperous Mediterranean ports backing on to the rural highlands of Mount Lebanon, the traditional home of the Maronites, who are Eastern Catholics in communion with the Vatican, and the Druze, whose beliefs combine Islamic teachings with elements from other Eurasian religious traditions. The Maronites and the Druze had a history of warfare and little in common. Nonetheless, since 1861, they'd been governed together under the Turks as a separate administrative district from the coastal cities of Beirut, Tyre, and Sidon, which were largely inhabited by Sunni Muslims. In 1919, with all the Ottoman territories on the negotiating table, a group of local Christian Francophone businessmen and intellectuals recognized an opportunity to expand this upland enclave to include the wealthy ports in a new state of Greater Lebanon. These Lebanists emphasized the natural symbiosis between the mountain and the coast. For them, the proposed new country was already a coherent whole. It just needed a distinctive history to justify its political autonomy. The nation state might have been new in the Middle East, but the Lebanese knew that nationalist movements needed historical legitimation, a common past on which to build a common polity. A local candidate presented itself. The Phoenicians, the ancient traders who had founded the coastal cities, sailed the length of the Mediterranean and beyond and invented the alphabet that we still use today. Portraying the Phoenicians as champions of free enterprise, much like themselves, of fucking capitalists. The Lebanists argued that these ancient Phoenician roots gave the Lebanese a Western Mediterranean-focused identity, very different from the Muslim culture of the broader Syrian region, which they saw as distasteful and uncivilized. It was central to their ideology that they were not Arabs. There are no camels in Lebanon, as the slogan still goes. So this is funny to me because I've been reading up on like Alexander Dugin and shit, and he's got this kind of paranoid, like crazy theory about Atlanticists and Eurasianists and whatnot, and it's kind of funny how the making up the myth about the Phoenicians and whatnot is literally kind of like the impetus for Dugin's kind of mad ravings about the Atlanticists. But there is like a real political thing about that. We'll have to do a show about that one day. Anyway, getting on a tangent. To provide a proper prototype and parallel for modern Lebanon, these Lebanists insisted that the Phoenicians were always a separate, single people or even nation, united by geography, culture, religion, and a common identity. As Charles Korm, a charmer and a chancer, as well as Ford Motor Company's sole representative in Syria, bluntly put it in the July 1919 issue of his short-lived nationalist journal, La Revue Phénicienne, we want this nation because it has always taken precedence in all the pages of our history. So this is the whole like Graham Hancock or whatever before Graham Hancock, the Lebanese whatever kind of version, you know. The argument worked from 1920. Greater Lebanon was administered as a separate state within the French Mandate, but was it true? Modern nationalism, which insists both on the political autonomy of a specific territory and its superiority over others, is a very recent phenomenon, a product of industrialization, mass communications, and the revolutions in France and the United States. It reached its height with the political unification of Germany and of Italy in the later 19th century. However, the language of the nation goes back to the medieval period in Europe, along with ideas of national character. Lists of ethnic stereotypes were already being collected in 11th century monasteries, and personal attachments to particular nations that could even encourage notions of genocide. So that's one of the things about nationalism and genocide. There might be a little bit of a correlation, whole cause, if not causation kind of thing there. But that would be like saying that you only get genocide when people try to be nationalists, and that's not necessarily true, is it? So some scholars of nationalism have argued that we can even trace similar sentiments back into antiquity. Anthony D. Smith's classic book, The Ethnic Origins of Nations, made the case that self-conscious ethnic communities have existed since the 3rd millennium BCE, and that these groups form the models and groundwork for the construction of nations in the modern world. This is kind of the argument that legitimizes this Zionist thing about how they can pretend that they were a nation 3,000 years ago, when 3,000 years ago they were not really what they would consider to be a nation. So while not yet nations in the modern sense, these groups shared cultural and sentimental attachments, a common name, a myth of shared descent, shared historical memories, and attachment to a particular territory. One of Smith's examples was Phoenicia, where alongside a political loyalty to the individual city-state, he found a cultural and emotional solidarity with one's cultural kinsmen, as this interpreted by current myths of origin and descent, based on a common heritage of religion, language, art and literature, political institutions, dress, and forms of recreation. But here's the kind of like, it all sounds great until you like find out it kind of falls apart. Phoenician was just a generic label invented by ancient Greek authors for Levantine sailors. All of this, including Smith's claim, would have surprised the ancient Phoenicians, a disparate set of neighboring and often warring city-states, cut off from each other for the most part by deep river valleys. They did not see themselves as a single ethnic group or people, the kind that could provide the groundwork for a nation. There is no known instance of a Phoenician ever calling themselves a Phoenician or any other collective term. So this is why I just wanted to kind of get to this little paragraph. That's it. In their inscriptions, they describe themselves in terms of their individual families and cities. They don't seem to have a common culture either. Their dialects fall on a continuum that linked city-states across Phoenicia, Syria, and Palestine, and the individual ports developed separate civic and artistic cultures, drawing on different foreign examples and relationships. So Byblos, for instance, looked more to Egyptian models, Arados to Syrian ones, Sidonian architecture drew on Greece and Persia, while Tyre cultivated ties with Jerusalem. Phoenician was just a generic label invented by Greeks. Okay? And this is a funny thing too. It says, the historian Herodotus, for instance, talks frequently and with considerable admiration about the Phoenicians, but he never gives an ethnographic description of them as he does for other groups, including Egyptians, Ethiopians, and Persians, which is the fucking exonym. The Persians is what the Greeks called them, not what they called themselves. And so we get all confused about who people are because people manipulate history for their own political advantages. All of that, I say all that to say.
Should I say, Bella?
Bella, you ready?
Hey, Bella.
Hey.
So, I did want to show something because there was a question in the chat that I wanted to address, and it is from Sean. Now, I don't know how to pronounce this word. Is it Tyre?
He's making a joke.
Tyre.
Good one, Sean. Tyre. Yeah, I think it's Tyre. But it's where tyrants come from. It's where the word tyrant comes from, I think. But maybe that might be wrong too. But no,
so I wanted to share this and read this a little bit.
Rubber origin story.
You could go. It's okay.
That's okay. And then he's saying Punic as in punitive.
I know this baby needs to.
Punics were like the North Africans or something, but maybe I'm wrong. They're a group of people, not anyway.
I know the baby needs to walk.
Yeah. You gonna wrap up then?
I'll close it up.
All right, cool.
So Israeli strikes
Have a good night, guys.
Displacement. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I'm saying.
Sorry. Go.
See you guys next.
Yeah. Oh, well, that was fast. I didn't mean to cut him off.
That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Hope you enjoyed the show. I'll see you guys next week. I think I'm gonna have the article done by next week if you want to talk about or read that next week or whatever. Or if we'll have a guest on.
Bella.
Anyway.
Have a good walk, little girl.
Have a good night, everyone.
All right, so it says, oh, let me show my screen so you can see me. Hello. All right. Israeli strikes follow displacement order for Lebanese city of, is it Tyre? Israeli forces intensify attacks, issue forced displacement orders for more towns and villages a day after killing dozens. This is from Al Jazeera, just so you know, whether you feel like it's a trusted source or not. This is May 27, 2026. Israel has announced that it has started bombing in areas around, I don't even want to say the word because I don't know how to pronounce it, Tyre, after ordering the forced displacement of one of Lebanon's largest cities and nearby villages. In a statement issued on Wednesday, the Israeli army said it was attacking a Hezbollah headquarters in the Tyre region, specifying the location. The announcement came about 2 hours after Israel issued a warning to residents of Tyre and surrounding areas of impeding military activity. The Israeli military said on Wednesday that all areas south of Lebanon's Zerani River, which runs 40 kilometers north of the Israel-Lebanon border, were considered combat zones and urged residents to head north. I think I have a video of this. If y'all want to see it, maybe I can close on it. In light of the repeated violations of the ceasefire agreement by the terrorist organization Hezbollah, so this is amazing to me that they're saying that that Hezbollah has continuously violated the ceasefire agreement, and y'all know that not to be true, right? Like, you know that's not true, right? The IDF will act against it with great force. The military's Arab language spokesman, I'm not even trying to pronounce that, posted on social media, "We advise the residents of southern Lebanon to evacuate to the northern of the Zerani River, as all areas of the south of the river are considered combat zones." The warning and subsequent bombing came after the Lebanese army said that one of its soldiers was killed near his post in Bakai, in eastern Lebanon, and it had retrieved his body. 2 more people were killed in the town of. So I guess it depends on where you're from, because this could either be Deer or Dire, depending on where you're from. A mosque in the Tyre district, Lebanese media reported. I apologize that I'm really messing up these words. I want to show this real quick, because you know I'm a visual person. I'm a visual person. Let me see what y'all was saying first before I move to this, because the chat is undefeated. Let me see. Oh, it's pronounced tire, or like a tire iron. Okay, thank you, Rondo. Thank you. All right, so let me show this and play it. Oh, wait, hold on. I'll go back. There we go. Play.
Israel has ordered all the Lebanese residents of areas in southern Lebanon, south of the Litani River, to evacuate immediately. Now, these forced evacuation orders basically are a prelude to the occupation, to the taking over by the Israeli military, which is something that the Israeli Minister of Defense has said the army has marching orders to do. But why is Israel taking over 850 square kilometers of Lebanese territory, going in 25, 30 kilometers deep into Lebanon? Well, the Israeli military has an evolving security doctrine, and it basically says that in order for Israel to be safe, it must take over land of other countries, neighboring it, clearing it of its residents, clearing it even of buildings, as we've seen over the past months in Lebanon and in Gaza, and having absolute security control over that territory. Those so-called buffer zones, according to Israel, are the only way to be safe and secure. This is all outside the parameters of international law, as experts keep reminding, but it is how Israel has normalized the taking over of land in Lebanon, in Syria, and in Gaza.
So we're just going greater Israel now. We're just straight up greater Israel now. Am I the only one that sees this? I want to show you this map. See if I can find it. Where's the map? Oh, okay. So I'm going to do this and then I will shut it down. Thank you guys for hanging out. I think it's important information. Make it bigger. This is an interactive map of Operation Northern Arrows and the ceasefire agreement in Lebanon from November 2025. Okay. Just to give you an idea of what is happening right now. This map focuses on the deployment of the IDF and Lebanese army as part of the implementation of the ceasefire agreement signed between the parties on November. Did I say November? I thought I was about to say Ozempic. November 27, 2024. Under this agreement, the IDF will gradually withdraw from the territory entered during the ground maneuver that began on October 1st, 2024, with the Lebanese army deploying in its place. The Lebanese army, along with the United Nations interim force in Lebanon, UNILIF, it will be responsible for implementing the agreement with a particular focus on preventing Hezbollah's renewed military enrichment in southern Lebanon. The operation was initially planned for completion within 6 months. However, Israel requested to extend its presence in the area due to the significant resources and time required to dismantle Hezbollah's capabilities. And remember, I keep saying Hezbollah, but it's Hezbollah. I apologize for that. Remember, Hezbollah is a reaction to colonizers in their country. Remember that. All right. However, Israel requested to extend its presence in the area due to the significant resources and time required to dismantle Hezbollah's capabilities, as well as the difficulties faced by the Lebanese army in deploying across the region. And the Lebanese army is that stronghold, that Maronite Christian stronghold of a colonizer state. Okay. The revised withdrawal deadline was set for February 18, 2025. On that date, the IDF indeed withdrew from Lebanon and repositioned along the Blue Line, except for 5 strategic points and a small but significant area along the border near Israeli communities. Israel argues that maintaining control over these points is critical for ensuring security and a sense of claims that Israel's continued presence and operations against the organization reflect offensive intentions. And from the Lebanese leadership, which demands a complete Israeli withdrawal to demonstrate to all parties in Lebanese that it is capable of dealing with Israel instead of Hezbollah. Sorry. I just want thank you for writing properly. Thank you for your grammar. So this map I'm about to show you highlights the 5 IDF outputs located north of the Blue Line and marks areas where ceasefire violations have been recorded. Additionally, it documents Israeli strikes in Lebanon and Hezbollah attacks on Israel during the Swords of Iron War, including Operation Northern Arrows. I don't know if we talked about that tonight, Northern Arrows. I don't think we did. I apologize. So here's the map. Let me see if I can. So they are like fucking up southern Lebanon for sure. And they're moving in some places towards northern Lebanon, but they're mostly in southern Lebanon. Let me see what y'all have to say about this. Oh, y'all talking about something else. Okay. Well, I am going to leave it here because Black Life just got home. She went and got her hair twisted. I wasn't a fan, but it's not my life. It's not my hair. I'm excited to see to see what she looked like. So that's what we're gonna do. And let me see if there's anything else. Can I leave on something? No. You okay? You okay? Okay. All right. So I'm fine. So this is me signing off. I just appreciate y'all so much. I really do. And I hope to see you on Tuesday for a public discussion. I hope you learned something today. I mean, I feel like I learned some stuff. We only scratched the surface, but who else is talking about this? I don't think anybody is. Be kind to your family. Be kind to your friends. Be kind to each other. And with that being said, Black Life, you want to say something?
Be kind to yourself.
No, you gotta say something.
Oh, bad cookies.
Oh, bad cookies, she coming for you.
Straight out the gate.
Not out the gate.
Let me tell you, I feel like bad cookies been.
I thought you was gonna say something nice.
I feel like you've been talking about me behind my back, waiting for the smoke.
Y'all waiting for a dance off.
That's right. After I beat them people in pool tomorrow, it's on. It ain't stopping me.
Oh Lord. Well, I'm gonna leave that alone.
Right.
Bad cookies.
Once again,
Clock it. She said, "Hey, everybody else. Look, everybody else but him."
Bad cookies like Seinfeld and Newman.
Not Seinfeld and Newman.
Yeah, that's how I feel about that.
Oh my gosh.
It's on. Every time I see him, it's on.
I think y'all might need to kiss. Y'all just might need to kiss.
Yeah.
Just get it over with. I ain't even gonna be mad. Just go ahead and kiss them.
After I smash, kiss them Converse.
Well, anyway, again, I love you all. Wait, before I go, let me see the comments. Before I go, let me see the comments. No, he had to go walk the dog.
Walk the dog.
Why are people talking about going to the club and what is going on in here?
Walking the dog.
They going to the club. Something about she got a jigabone afro. You want to show them your
Oh no.
No.
Uh-uh.
She don't want to show. She's shy. Oh, Bad Cookies is here. He heard everything you said.
Good.
She said good. He said I can't kiss her. She got twisted hair.
How dare you?
How dare you?
It's going to stop him with Bad Cookies.
Oh my gosh. Y'all are so funny. Anyway, I'm glad we could laugh and learn together. And let's do it again next week. Okay. Tuesday. Stop in. We're going to pin it in the chat. Come over. Talk to us. It's cool. And then we'll figure out what we're talking about on Thursday. Shit. Other than that, oh, hey, John. John's here. John say, "Toke 'em if you got 'em." John, I'm just going to tell you this real quick. Louisiana is trying to make it illegal, make marijuana a class 3. What they say? What are they trying to make marijuana?
They're trying to make money.
They trying to make money. They trying to make it illegal again.
While selling it to.
Wow, they got medical marijuana clinics here.
Yep.
I think they're just trying to lock black people up, to be honest. But that's just my opinion. You ain't gotta believe me. You ain't gotta agree with me.
Just look at it. You're there, you're there.
Yeah, they doing too much now. But anyway, I love y'all. And I'll see you guys next week, eh? Oh, or in the chatosphere, because you know I'll be around. I'm gonna be around. So yeah, with that being said, I'm out here. That's some ebonics for your ass. I'm out here. Hey,